Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Hong Kong Web3 Festival 2023, co-hosted by Wanxiang Blockchain Labs and HashKey Group, and organized by W3Me. I'm Jasmine. It's my great pleasure to be the MC for today's event. 尊敬的各位嘉宾、各位业界同仁，大家好，我是今天的主持人 Jasmine。欢迎各位莅临由万象区块链实验室与 HashKey Group 联合举办的 W3Me 承办的2023 Hong Kong Web3 Festival. The Hong Kong Web3 Festival 2023 is titled and sponsored by OKX and ZA Bank and has received strong support from Invest HK, FinTech HK, Hong Kong Science and Technology Parks, and Cyberport. We are very grateful for the support of over 100 partners, including platinum sponsors, Near, Filecoin, Neo, Offside and QuestEnd, and gold sponsors, Avalanche, Biocene, Certic, DGFT, Dodo, Dotbit, Forbelay, Map Protocol, Meta48, Metaphor, Mix Marvel, Neopets, Nervous, Paddle, Qtum, Safe Heron, Safe Pow, Zeba, Waterdrip, and ZKP Lab. Thank you so much for your great support. The Web3 Festival features one main stage and 4 sub-stages, covering various technology fields of the Web3 world. Additionally, there are exciting side events brought by our partners. We believe that everyone will gain valuable insights from this festival. It is also worth mentioning that the Hong Kong Web3 Festival 2023 is held with the newly launched Business of Innovation and Technology Week, which includes the InnoX, Hong Kong Spring Electronics Fair, Digital Economy Summit, and Hong Kong International Spring Lighting Fair. Together, these events highlight Hong Kong advantages as an international center for innovation and technology and an Asian hub for international trade exhibitions. So to kick off today's event, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Mr. King Leung, Director of Invest HK Financial Technology, to deliver the opening speech for the Web3 Festival. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to Mr. King Leung.
Hello. 早安，欢迎大家，大家也辛苦了，因为昨天大家应该 party 的很嗨，很累吧？啊，欢迎。那今天我非常的有这个荣幸啊，就是跟那个万象跟 HashKey 有这个机会，跟大家去分享一些香港政府一些看法啊。首先就是非常感谢肖总啊 ，Michelle 杜总。各位的支持，让今天过去几天吧，让香港成为全世界最厉害的 Web3 的这个 hub。其实呢，过去几天应该大家听过蛮多我们香港政府领导的一些分享，对于政策或者是一些监管方面的发展。所以今天我想就是用另外一个角度跟大家去分享一下，就是我们怎么看从业务层面、从 strategy 层面，香港政府是怎么看 Web3 对未来的发展方向。那首先呢，我想就是因为昨天我们的财政司长郑茂波先生也跟大家分享过香港政府对于 Web3 的支持。但是我想强调，其实香港呢最终的 strategy 的定位，我们的目的放在哪儿？其实我们的重点是放在怎么样利用这个很重要这个科技发展的节点，去让香港的整个实体经济能够提升我们能力，有一个跨越性的进步啊，这个是我们的定位，所以不单纯是那个虚拟货币等等，其实我们看的是看更大的市场规模。那呢，你可以会问，这个下一页啊 ，OK，let's go back。Back page, please. 那其实我想就是跟大家分享呢，其实有一个 back one page。OK， 谢谢。我想不要走得太远吧。那其实呢，大家可能会问，因为如果是有一些投资者在做，大家应该会想到就是有多大 market sizing 对吗？其实我们香港政府呢，我们的 ambition 不是虚拟货币1万亿的规模，我们是整个那个大币化市场的规模，就是百亿级别的规模。那这个呢，其实背后的一些资产，能够包括其他的所谓实体经济资产，包括债券，或者是那个 PE， 还有呢，就是过去几天我跟一些内地的大佬也在讨论过数据。那其实数据也是一个很重要的资产。其实如果有一些朋友不是在内地非常关注这方面的发展的话呢，其实在中国内地呢，在很多城市已经有一个数据的交易所。现在呢，数据已经是一个资产，有价格可以做 trading， 所以这个也是我们看到未来发展的方向。大币化之后呢，其实很多资产能够提高这个的流动性，所以整个市场规模是海量。那另外呢，其实我们看金融科技 Web3 Digital Assets 虚拟资产，大家有机会会想象这个板块只是金融而已，这个其实不对，因为我们也看到香港一个特有的一个优势，是在去年就是2021年施政报告里面也写到，香港当然是一个国际金融中心这个定位，但是在一个“14+5”计划当中，香港也是一个中国在文化和国际文化跟艺术交流的中心。那这个也是非常有意思。那为什么呢？也看一看 market sizing。那因为如果看一看我们香港的定位，如果不是在做这个艺术方面的一个工作的朋友，有机会不知道其实我们在2020年，香港已经超越那个伦敦，成为全世界第2大艺术品拍卖的市场。那其实因为今天时间关系，还有很多的数据没有机会用今天的分享。但是简单的说，因为香港是全世界这个 high net worth 还有 family offices 最集中的城市之一，是头3名。所以在香港其实有的这个 wealth 也是非常厉害。那还有呢，就是香港也是全世界第2大这个 cross boundary wealth management 的跨境一个理财的市场。所以在香港有的那个 wealth 是海量。所以为什么也是很多的 alternate assets 也是想用香港做一个主要的平台去推出。那另外呢，大家也会想到，如果是从这个人才的角度，香港是不是没有科技人才？这个也是不对。那因为说实话，这个科技人才有很多类别，但是如果从 Web3 或者是那个虚拟资产方面去看的话呢，一个很重要的能力就是区块链的能力。那如果大家不清楚的话，我想跟大家分享呢，这个 CoinDesk 是一个英国很知名的一个机构他们在过去几年在全球去打分看全球的大学在科技链发展方面的能力。那我可以跟大家很骄傲的说，我们香港是非常的棒，因为在头20名当中，有4家香港大学是在 Top 20，是全世界排名。还有就是香港的理工大学是全球区块链大学排名第1，所以这个是我们非常要那个 PolyU 帮他们骄傲的。那但是我们也有一个缺口。那如果大家很细节去看这个 bar chart， 那上面有几个颜色对吗？叫橙色、蓝、红的、黑的。那其实很多领域呢，这个香港的大学呢做得非常好。橙色的是那个他们的一个出文章一个研究的能力，蓝色的是他们有区块链一方面的课程那丰不丰富，但是红色呢是对接企业 跟他们学生找工作毕业之后找工作，这个也是像现在我们看到一个很好的机会，就是以前很多的机构不知道香港有那么大这个这类的一个人才，但现在我们很努力跟业界去沟通如果大家去找人才，找区块链人才的话呢，香港很多如果生长一些直接对接的话呢，可以直接找我，我可以帮助大家介绍香港一些很有能力一些的教授跟大学。那所以呢，其实现在也有很多一些落地的政策。我因为时间关系，我简单的举几个例子吧。第一，这个高端人才计划，这个简单的说就是快、简单。就是拿到香港的这个 Visa 签证能够加入我们香港的大家庭，有多快呢？最快的我听说的是一天就批了，平均大概是4天。是这个就是那个我们在香港政府很努力之下呢，让很多在全世界，尤其在中国内地人才能够加入我们香港大家庭。那还有另外一个呢，刚才提到是人才，还有企业。香港在去年的12月23号也打造一个新的机构，这个机构叫那个 Oasis， 那 Office for Attracting Strategic Enterprises， 引进重点企业办公室。那这个呢是一个非常高级别的机构，它是直接汇报给我们财爷陈茂波先生。那为什么这个重要呢？因为全球我们也想呢邀请一些非常有能力的机构加入我们香港大家庭，能够赋能我们香港整个生态圈，提升我们的能力。所以如果需要谈一些政策的优惠他们是有一个 custom made 的 packages 去跟大家谈的。有兴趣的话呢，也可以找我，我可以介绍我们在 Oasis 的同事让大家认识。那还有呢，资金因为这个呢，也是去年一个新的打造的机构。叫 Hong Kong Investment Corp， 香港投资管理公司。那这个是什么一回事呢？如果大家就是有机会的话呢，有可能是想象到联想到一个新加坡的 Temasek， 对，这个也是香港政府拨款，是620亿港币，大概是80亿美金的资金，分散在4个不同基金。主要是投放到不同的赛道，主要是4个赛道。第一个赛道是金融科技，包括虚拟资产，还有 Web3。第二个赛道是 Biotech Life Science。第3是人工智能大数据。第4是Advanced Manufacturing 高端制造业。是这个也是香港在未来的时间当中非常专注投资还有培育的4个重要的赛道。那在去年的10月31号，是在香港整个 Web3 虚拟资产发展呢一个很重要的里程碑，因为很多香港政府的领导，包括陈茂波先生，还有这个金管局许正宇局长这个证监会的领导，也让全世界知道香港对于发展虚拟资产方面的决心。但是我们不是说说而已。我们有实际上的事是落地，让大家看到我们这个落地的决心因为这个时间关系，我没有放所有的事放在哪里，我主要是挑几个跟大家分享。那在这个3年之后，是去年10月底之后呢，在12月中，香港呢就是已经推出第一个是整个亚洲第一个那个 Bitcoin Futures 的 NFT。还有Ether Futures EFT， 还有呢更有意思呢，就是发行这个 NFT 的这个机构背景也是中国背景的南方东英 CSOP， 这个非常有意思，这个也是能够展示香港一个一国两制这我们的决心，还有这方面有优势。那在今年的2月中，我们政府呢也发行全球第一个政府发的这个绿色债券的代币化版本，也是在2月中已经推出。还有呢，2月22号 香港政府呢也推出我们这个预算。那这个预算呢里面有很多细节我简单只要挑2个跟大家分享。第一个就是过去昨天应该有听过就有5000万港币批给数码港去促进 Web3 的发展，主要是做一些宣传推广方面的事。还有另外一个呢，大家有机会不知道呢，我政府也拨款1个亿港币去发展那个家族办公室方面的发展。那为什么呢？那因为其实在这个虚拟资产方面，其实你可以另外一个角度去看，也是一个 alternative assets， 也是一个另类的资产。所以在现在的这个整个的市场规模当中，其实一些 pension funds、一些机构投资者已经有蛮多的所谓 asset allocation， 已经放在这个 alternative assets， 一般是5%到15%。但是有另外一个群体，就是 high net worth。还有这个 family office 家办，那这个群体呢，如果根据很多研究报告，包括一个 Bain Consulting 的研究报告，这个群体呢几乎是零 ，OK， 很低的 allocation， 所以在这个 alternative asset， 包括数字资产方面是有海量的商机，因为香港也是一个南海，所以我们也是非常积极去吸引到全球，包括中国内地的家办。放他们的一个 presence 放在香港，另外一层面就是能够对接很多创新的一些金融产品，跟这个资金去对接，这个另外有我们的一个 strategy。那最后大家也是非常的期待，我们在今年的6月1号有我们的新的牌照的推出 VSP，很多能不能够开放给散户或者是那个公干允不允许等等。这个我们也是非常的紧密，那跟证监会去连接去尽量让大家知道这方面的资料所以还有很多的事稳定币等等，很多的事在今年会发生。所以这个呢，我想就是做一个很快的总结，就是说，那其实我也是在做一个 startup 起家的，那我加入政府呢大概4年的时间，那我能够亲眼的看到香港一个很重要的一个节点。所以我们现在在反弹，也是香港回来了。还有就是，如果大家昨天有在这个会场，应该会感觉到大家的热情、大家 energy， 哇，这很厉害了。昨天其实我有去过一些reception drinks， 也是爆棚的。那所以呢，如果大家以前有机会想到一个 Web3 虚拟资产的一些活动，大家会想到一些美国的 consensus， 对吗？那我希望。这一天，大家记住这一天，其实我们是第一步，放香港作为全球领先 Web3 的中心。所以未来大家如果想起来去一个活动，想起来 Web3， 大家不会想第一个不会想 consensus， 大家会想到 Web3 Festival， 也会想到香港。所以希望在未来时间能够让大家能够感受到香港政府的诚意。一起努力打造香港成为全球 Web3 中心。谢谢大家。
Thank you. A big round of applause to King for your great insights. Thank you very much. And now, without further ado, may I invite Mr. Sota Watanabe, founder and CEO of A-Star Network, to deliver a keynote speech. Mr. Sota Watanabe, please. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a round of applause to Mr. Sota.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much for coming today. I think 10 a.m. is very early for crypto people, but I'm really glad to see all of you guys today. And today I'm going to speak about A-Star Network and also our presence in Japan. I think in 2023 and 2024, it's time of Asia, so time for us. And I'm really surprised to see the energy in Hong Kong. But at the same time, I think A-Star is the go-to market chain for Japanese people. So I would like to share our progress in Japan. And yeah, Asta is the multi-chain smart contract layer 1 blockchain for future of Web3. And Asta consists of more than 50 members across the globe, coming from more than 22 countries. But I am Japanese, comes from Japan, so we do have a strong presence in Japan. And a little bit about myself. My name is Sota Watanabe, founder of Asta Network and Asta Foundation, and CEO at Startel Lab. Asta Foundation is the non-profit organization for Web 3.0, mainly interoperability and the multi-chain protocol. And Startel Lab is the company which developed Asta Network. And apart from Asta, I am one of the director at Japan Blockchain Association, and recently selected Forbes 30 under 30 in Asia and also Japan. So yeah, about Asta Network. Asta is the smart contract platform for multi-chain era. And when we talk about multi-chain, so it means deploying a single dApps on multiple networks. But I think this concept is a little bit misunderstood. Because when we talk about multi-chain, the protocol, blockchains, should be connected in a blockchain level, protocol level, not in an application level. Just like internet. When we use internet, no one cares about which server we are using, right? And which database we are using. It is the internet, because protocols are connected thanks to multiple protocols such as TCP, IP, HTTP, and so on. But blockchains are not connected yet. So in coming years, connecting blockchain is one of the most important things we have to solve. And then, when we talk about multi-chain, we can use liquidity, we can use user in a multiple networks, not only a single network, but also multiple networks. And eventually, I think in 2030 or in 2040, no one cares about which blockchain to use. Right now, we have to, if we are using wallet, we have to understand which network we are connecting right now. I even do not know how many tokens I have on Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche, and so on. But in the future, I think the blockchain will be connected, so no one cares about which blockchain to use. So this is what I would like to make. To do so, we needed to connect blockchains, and we need a multi-chain layer 1 protocol. And we are making an application platform. This is like Apple Store or Google Store for Web 3.0. So this is our product, and we are making layer 1 blockchain as well as product on the top of blockchains. And this is the application portal. You can log in with MetaMask and the other wallets. And you can see on-chain data, and a lot of the dApps are listed on our portal. And the great thing is you can stake our token on dApps as well as network. So we invented dApps staking, which is called build-to-earn protocol. I will be explaining later. But you can lock your token on dApps, and if you click on dApps, you can check out the information, like license, who are building, and also a description of each protocol. So if you are interested in who are building on Asta, please go to portal.asta.network. And this is our ecosystem. It is not possible for me to explain all of the people and projects. More than 268 projects building on Asta. I think 30 or 40% comes from Japan. And we launched our mainnet back in 2021, February. So we are still young, but our ecosystem is getting bigger and bigger and bigger right now. Yeah, also we are backed by multiple great leaders, including Binance, Coinbase, Polychain, and the thanks-free HashKey group, HashKey Capital too. And right now, we started from Polkadot ecosystem, so we are recognized as the leading chain in Polkadot ecosystem. And Polkadot does not provide smart contract functionality by default. It is layer 0 protocol. So we are making smart contract layer on the top of Polkadot, but we are expanding from Polkadot to other networks as well. And at the same time, we are working with very traditional company, including Toyota, Sony, and NTT, and local governments, like Shibuya City, which is the largest city for young people, in Sendai City and Fukuoka City. This is the special city for the national strategy. And I will be speaking about a little bit technical stuff, but I would like to focus more on general things. So in terms of Asta, what is the special things for Asta network compared to other layer 1 blockchains? So first one is the multiple virtual machine. We support Ethereum virtual machine, which is Ethereum compatible layer. So you can deploy any Ethereum smart contract on the top of our layer 1 blockchain. But at the same time, we support WebAssembly. WebAssembly is the next virtual machine for smart contract. And the WebAssembly is built by leading tech giants like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and so on. So by supporting WebAssembly, we are supporting not only Web3 developer, but also Web2 developer. And this is a little bit technical, so I would like to use my analogy. So EVM is Ethereum virtual machine is widely used in a Web3 ecosystem, right? So this is like Windows OS. Everyone is using at office, right? And the WebAssembly is the next virtual machine, like Mac OS, which is more sophisticated for engineer and for designer and so on. So we are supporting not only Microsoft OS, Windows OS, but also Mac OS at the same time. So we can support not only people who are working at the office, but also we can support engineers, we can support designers, and so on. This is analogy. By supporting Ethereum virtual machine and also WebAssembly, we can support not only Web3 developer who are familiar with Solidity, but also we can support Web2 developer who are familiar with Rust, Go, Python, and multiple languages. And another feature is DApp staking, which is also called the build-to-earn protocol, which is very special implementation for us. And right now, developer is the most important human resource in the blockchain ecosystem, right? But developer is paying a lot of the cost, maybe gas fee and the cloud cost, including AWS, Azure, and so on. Developers have to pay a lot of the cost when they make smart contract, when they make infrastructure, right? But they are the most important people in the blockchain space. So blockchain is all about incentive, but the incentive design here is broken because the most important people are paying money, right? So we invented build-to-earn protocol. So this is the decentralized developer incentive mechanism for innovators. So we distribute basic income from block rewards. We make blocks, right? And the new inflation token goes to a developer based on their contribution. So they can earn token by making smart contract, by making infrastructure. So this is the unique and the biggest feature for us. And since we are making smart contract platform, I would like to talk about the problem and the solution for future smart contract. Right now, we have some challenges. The first challenge is number of the languages, smart contract languages we can use is very limited, mainly Solidity, right? But Solidity is very limited in terms of technology because Solidity comes from Bitcoin OP code, but OP code does not, Bitcoin does not support smart contract, generally speaking. So the challenge we face is we need more languages to support. So what if we could write smart contract with Go what if we could write smart contract with C++ or C, right? And if we could onboard next Web2 developer to Web3, our Web3 ecosystem is getting bigger and bigger. And this is what we are working on. And another problem we have is the blockchains are isolated. So it is extremely hard for all people to use Ethereum smart contract from another blockchain and vice versa. So our solution is, the first one is cross virtual machine and the layer 0 protocol. So we support not only Ethereum virtual machine, at the same time we support WebAssembly. So you can deploy not only Solidity code, but also C++, Go, Rust, and so on. And we are using layer 0 protocol, including Polkadot and also Cosmos. So we can interact with other layer 1 blockchains through cross-chain functionality called XCM, cross-chain messaging passing. So right now, when we interact with other blockchain, this is, the bridge is the risk. There are a lot of the bug. There are a lot of the hack. So we are using trustless bridge, the layer 0 protocol, to interact with other blockchains. So this is what we are doing right now. And because we can support multiple smart contracts, like, not only Solidity, but also others, people can deploy a lot of the smart contract on the top of Asta. And we started from Polkadot, and we became one of the first Polkadot parachain. We connected our blockchain to Polkadot back last year. But we are going to expand our ecosystem from Polkadot to others. Yeah, this is what we would like to make. And also, Asta is the right now go-to-market layer 1 blockchain in Japan. So I would like to highlight what we are doing in Japan. So Japanese government last year made Web3 as a national strategy. So politicians and also a lot of the big companies are really eager to push Web3 in Japan right now. The reason is simple. In my opinion, Japan used to be #1 in terms of electronic goods or maybe car, but we completely lost in Web2. We don't have a Alibaba, we don't have a Tencent, right? So we completely lost in Web2. But elderly people knows the age of the Japan was #1. So they would like to push Web3, and they would like to make a world-class product from Japan. It's like leapfrog, right? We skip Web 2 from Web 1, or even before. And the NTT Docomo, which is the NTT Group is the third largest company in Japan, announced a $4 billion investment in Web 3. And they're gonna make wallet, and they're gonna make exchanges, and they're gonna make custody, and so on. And as you can see here, Asta is the one of the partner. And this is the shareholder meeting of NTT Docomo. And the CEO mentioned that Asta is the leading chain in Japan. And second one is Sony. We are working really closely with Sony right now. And we kicked off a Web3 incubation program between Asta and Sony. And by using Sony's internal resource and Asta's technology, we're gonna incubate more than 20 projects in this quarter too. We got more than 200 applications within 2 weeks across the globe, and we selected 19 different projects. And these projects will be deployed on Asta, and by using Sony's internal resource, we are going to incubate Web3 projects across the globe. And this incubation program is the first batch, but we are going to do second batch, third batch, and so on. So if you are interested, please follow our Twitter or my Twitter and apply. I think Sony is the most promising company in terms of Web3. They have a car, they have a bank, they have a music, obviously game. So I'm super excited to work with Sony. And last one is Toyota. Toyota is the car company, so which is not super related to Web3. But they also would like to push Web3 forward. 1 month ago, we announced the Web3 hackathon sponsored by Toyota on Asta. Toyota has very many employees across the globe. So the title, the mission during the hackathon is to make DAO-ish product for Toyota employees. And we have successfully done the hackathon, and we got more than 424 applications within months, and more than 47 projects deployed on Asta, and we selected 8 projects together with Toyota. So Asta is currently push the innovation of Japan. And this is interesting use case we announced yesterday. We collaborate with Calbee, which is the largest potato chips company in Japan. Everyone is eating Calbee potato chips. Probably some of you know the potato chips there. I saw these potato chips in Hong Kong too. They're gonna distribute NFT through these potato chips. And this potato chips is very famous in Japan, and you can purchase almost all grocery store and convenience store in Japan, in Tokyo. So if you go to the Ethereum Tokyo, happening this week, please visit convenience store and purchase NFT. And half of Japanese people have eaten these potato chips in their life. So yeah, we are considering how to do a better marketing in a Web3 era. So Web 1 is the card attached on potato chips, like baseball card or anime card and so on. And Web 2 is like scanning QR code. So what is Web 3? So what we are doing right now is the scanning the Calbee bag with Web 3 wallet. After eating potato chips, you can make potato chips smaller and then scan the code on the top of potato chips bag. And then if you scanned, NFT will be distributed. And you can get seed, just like this. And if you eat again, second time, the seed is growing. Right? You can cultivate the seed by eating a lot of the potato chips, which is not healthy. So, and if you eat 5 times, you can get character. The seed is growing, and you can get a character like this. And if you have that character, you can prove the loyalty of the Calbee on chain, on the top of blockchains. And a lot of the Calbee goods will be distributed to you if you have this NFT. And if you are going to Ethereum Tokyo, I will be going today. And we have a Web3 events in Tokyo together with Microsoft, Alchemy, Parity, and Shibuya City on 16th. So please visit if you come. And also 1inch. This is our plan for Q3. The first one is redesign our token economics. And second one is bootstrap our WebAssembly economics. WebAssembly ecosystem, and third one is onboard more and more legendary Japanese company and Asia company on Asta network. And fourth one is improving UX and UI. So conclusion, I feel strong energy in Hong Kong, and I'm super excited to work with all of you guys. And I think 2023 and 2024 is the age of Asia in Web3. So we have a significant opportunity and potential. So let's make the most of the opportunity. And the Web3 is the movement. It's not only by Asta, but also all of you guys. So I would like to make Web3 utilized in a society together. If you have any question, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, Telegram, whatever. Thank you very much. Shay.
Thank you. Arigato, Mr. Watanabe. Thank you so much, Mr. Watanabe, for your valuable sharing. So next up, may I invite Mr. Dai Wen, Head of Solutions Architecture Greater China Region AWS, to deliver a keynote speech. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Dai Wen. Mr. Dai Wen, please.
Hi, good morning. So it's great to be here, and especially after the first party night, and still so many people. I appreciate that you're here and have my session today. So my name is Wen. I lead the solutions architect team in Greater China, and our job is to help our customers, including the startups and as well as the enterprise, to grow not only in Web 2 but also in the Web 3. And today, my topic is about how AWS can help you in the Web3 infrastructure. So first of all, we have a mission in Web3. That is, we want to empower all the builders to redefine the internet. And we have been in this area from the very, very early stage of Web3. And you can see this page shows only a portion of all the partners, startups, and even some enterprises. We can see that in this domain, across layer 1 and layer 2 chains, and also some other startups focusing on Web3 industry and business. And so how did they get this successful journey or progress in Web3? In summary, we can see 4 parts that we can offer to you and to all the other Web3 startups. That is, first of all, we want to help all the Web3 startups and business organizations make decisions faster with world-class infrastructure and go global to gain the visibility in minutes. This is very critical for all the Web3 startups and the enterprise organizations, because as long as the application is launched, it is facing the access from all over the world, and to have the world-class infrastructure and gain availability worldwide is so critical. And we also help the Web3 startups, especially the 2B Web3 startups, for example, the SaaS3 organizations. We help them to build go-to-market strategies and also the partnerships to accelerate their progress in the Web3 ecosystem. This is critical for them, and this is also what we are doing to accelerate the whole progress from Web 2 to Web 3. And last but not least, security is job zero, and it is so important for all the Web3 startups. And we have the technical products as well as solutions to help everyone strengthen the security as well as the compliance across the countries. And as it's known to all, why there's event like this in Hong Kong, and one of the most important reasons is that we have the friendly, or we have the positive regulatory environment, and you need a partner to comply to all the regulation compliances. So let's go through them one by one. First, let's talk about world-class infrastructure and how you can leverage this to gain a global visibility. So I know this is the fundamental of all the compute resources, but I will go through them quickly. And AWS now provides a global infrastructure with 31 launch regions, 99 availability zones, with over 450 points of presence. That's the network POPs. So this infrastructure is also well connected with the global network. And you can also connect the AWS infrastructure to other cloud providers and even to local data centers with a product called Direct Connect. You can leverage the private lines from ISP to connect them up so that you can really achieve distributed and worldwide infrastructure to host the applications. And the offerings is not only about the infrastructure, but also about the upper level application and machine learning and analytics offerings. So you can see in the core compute infrastructure part, we provide core services across compute, serverless, containers, and IoT. And on top of that, security. Again, security is very important. we provide us a full portfolio in security, and I will go through one of the top products that worth your attention. Is the Nitro Enclave. I will go through that later. And secondly, regarding the storage system and the API, this is very important. And in fact, if we view the blockchain from a higher abstraction layer, blockchain is also a distributed database, and it's also a distributed storage. So we provide the storage system and APIs across the network, and we also provide different types of storage across the object ones and also the NoSQL database and the RDBMS that can help you to build applications not only in the not only in a decentralized way, but also build some applications in a centralized way to do the analytics and then go back to the distributed networks. And regarding the machine learning analytics, there are many offerings. And one of the products I want to share with you is the Amazon Managed Blockchain Service. You can pull up a node, for example, an Ethereum node, by this service. And it is fully managed by AWS so that you can run it freely and you can pull out the data and do the analytics on demand. This is very critical because many Web3 startups have limited resources in the engineering. We just want Web3 startups to focus on the core application and the core business instead of building up the nodes and do the hands-on work around the configuration again. That is undifferentiated work that you can definitely offload to the cloud providers like AWS. And there's a startup called NoReal. I think maybe many of you have known it. And NoReal has built their platform and built their solutions with AWS. And just as Jimmy from NoReal said, the high performance of the global network and the cloud services provided by AWS help NoReal go global and also achieve the vision of making the Web3 real in time. And NoReal can also provide 2B services in Web3. And another example is about the Phantom, which was established in 2018, and it is doing business in layer 1. And Phantom, we supported Phantom business not only with the products, but also the technical expertise support to them. We run out a program called Data Lab, and that Data Lab provides engineers working with Phantom closely to build the decentralized applications in analytics. And besides the offerings that can help the Web3 startups and enterprise organizations go fast, we are paying efforts to figure out how to build go-to-market strategies for Web3 startups and how to build a partnership in Web3 to push the progress and accelerate the growth. And actually, there are specially designed programs for Web3 startups. And this is fabulous, and this is very, very helpful for the starters in Web3. First of all, we provide cloud resources to the Web3 startups, and you can start building with the cloud resources we provide freely, and then you can leverage the solutions architect team I lead to build the POC to verify some application architecture. And after that, we have the channels in the ecosystem to help you build a go-to-market strategy, especially for the 2B services or 2B Web3 startups. And last but not least, we have the resources to help you get an explorer to the investor community, and we have the startup mentorship to help you find a mentor in your business. And especially about the go-to-market, I think maybe some of you are interested in it. So we have a network called Amazon Partner Network, APN. It was originally developed in the Web 2 era, and there are many Web2 companies, naming Web2 companies in this network. For example, the big unicorns like the Databricks, and also successful analytics company like Snowflake, etc. They leverage this ecosystem to acquire new users. So now we extend this partner network to Web3. You can see all these startups are leveraging this network to find partnership and to acquire new growth and new customers. And especially we have marketplace. This marketplace was also built in a Web2 era, but now there are more and more Web3 startups deploying products or offering products in this marketplace. So they are just like Avalanche Labs does. If you provide a template in this marketplace, any user in this world can just launch a node on your chain with a simple click and via very simple configurations. This is very important. And we also treat the partner offerings like this as a very good supplementary part to the Amazon Managed Blockchain Services, so that all the customers, all the users around this world, all the developers around this world can launch a node easily in the cloud vendor, not only via the managed services by the the cloud providers, but also via the third-party offerings from all the 2B companies in Web3 era. And last, I want to talk about security and compliance. It's very, very important for Web3. Just as I mentioned, why we are so happy to get together here is the top reason is that we have the positive compliance environment. And besides that, we need to pay attention to the security technologies. So first of all, if you choose an infrastructure provider, no matter it is a cloud provider or a data center, you should examine the compliance regulation compliance status of that provider. So after 17 years development, AWS now provide regulatory compliance across many different countries and areas. You can see there are many certifications from different countries and also some global standards. So this is critical when you launch your application on the platform. And then with this compliant infrastructure platform, you can focus on the compliance of your application. And this is very important when we connect the Web3 applications to the real world and meet the regulatories across the different countries or geos. And besides that, the security technology is also very important. We accumulated portfolios in identity and access management, detected controls, infrastructure protection, data protection, incident response, and compliance, as I mentioned. So the portfolio I list here means that we start from customer requirements. You know, in the very beginning of AWS, there's very few products in this domain, and we noticed that many customers paying attention to the security. So we work backward and build all these products, and that means each product is already verified and validated by many customers. And so as long as you put these products in your environments, it is a mature product, not something that AWS built by imagination. But this is real customer requirements, and we build them and verified by the customer communities. And as a highlight, I want to talk about the Nitro Enclave. This is a revolutionary, fabulous, and super helpful feature for all the Web3 companies and startups. So the Web3 application is based on technologies, distributed technologies around blockchain, and the protection to the private key is so important, so critical for all of us. And this protection is not only about defend ourselves against the external attacks, but also defend the server, defend all the application from internal attacks. So now, Nitro Enclaves provides a technology that can help you run a sensitive code as an application in a purely isolated environment. And this environment is supported by the hardware with acceleration. And this isolated environment just shows as a process in the home or hosted virtual machine. That is the EC2 instance on the left-hand side. So that all the interaction between the home instance and the isolated environment is encrypted, and only the isolated environment can handle your private key with plain text. And there is also no storage in this isolated environment. So it is so important that from the home virtual machine, no matter someone attacked you from externally or some internal person just doing some bad things from internally, they cannot get your private key. This is so important. And we are more than happy that so many Web3 startups across the crypto, Web3, and decentralized apps and NFT, many organizations and startups leverage this feature to enhance the security to protect the private keys. I highly recommend that you have a look at this to protect all the information and the critical assets. And as I mentioned, Crypto.com, a very important exchange as well as a Web3 player, not only leverage AWS as an infrastructure and data platform provider, but also leverage the Nitro Enclave to do the protection for the private keys, and also they have an end-to-end security mechanism and platform built on AWS. So that's nearly all of my sharing today, and we have gone through the journey of be successful in Web3 era, and we should make decisions with faster, with world-class infrastructure, and go global and gain visibility in minutes. And AWS can help you build a go-to-market and partnerships across the Web3 ecosystem. And last but not least, strengthen the security and the compliance. And there are so many Web3 startups outside this hall in the exhibition. And I want to say something to you and to if you are founding up a Web3 startup or doing some attempts. You know, although this domain is blooming, it is still very important to focus on the problems in the real world. We should solve the real problems in the real world, and we should create value to the business, to the society. And that is what Web3 is expected to do. And secondly, I hope that when you get enough funding from venture capital or from any capital, you can focus on your core application and core business and just offload the undifferentiated work or duplicate work to cloud providers. Why? That is not only about selling, but you know, from a upper level, from a macro abstraction layer of the society, when we offload this undifferentiated work to cloud provider, we get better sustainability for this area and for this society. And thirdly, I hope that we can work together to go through all these journeys and redefine the internet. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dai Wen, for your inspirational speech. Thank you very much. So coming up next, may I invite Mr. Avery Chang, co-founder and chief technology officer of Aptos, to share with us online a keynote speech Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Avery Chang, please.
Hi, my name is Avery Ching. I'm co-founder and CTO at Aptos Labs, and I'm delighted to be here at the Hong Kong Web3 Festival of 2023. In an interesting coincidence, I was here back 20 years ago in 2003, talking about high-performance computing and clustering. Today, I'll be discussing the Aptos blockchain and how we believe this is an important piece of mainstream Web3 infrastructure. The mission of Aptos is about building and scaling the decentralized internet for everyone. Our team comes from a long history of builders and creators and researchers from the Libra DM project at Meta. Many of us have been very passionate about the Web3 space for a long time and inspired by the ideas of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other technologies for decentralized infrastructure. And in 2018, we tried to solve the problems of how do you get billions of people to adopt this technology and its benefits. And we've been building since then and are excited about the technology we're bringing forward into the future. We believe there are some key components that are missing from this technology being widely adopted by both developers as well as users. And the three things that we want to bring to the table are intuitive experiences, instant response times, and inexpensive costs. Here we'd like to focus on some of our core design decisions. In 2018, we tried to tackle some of the problems of how do you onboard billions of people from Meta into the Web3 space in a safe and scalable way. And with that in mind, we came up with the idea of a new language called Move, as well as a new blockchain called the DM blockchain. And the idea was putting these two together would bring together the benefits of infrastructure that scales to billions. And focusing on a couple of key points. So first of all, a new smart contracts platform that could get the time from programmers to thinking of ideation all the way to production was really important, and how to do so in a safe and scalable manner. The second point is, how do you build a systems infrastructure that can support the needs of billions of people, similar to the way that cloud computing does today? When you think about where we are as a technology platform for blockchain, all the blockchains in the world can't do what a single MySQL server can do in terms of throughput and latency. It takes hundreds of thousands, if not millions of these servers to do a single internet application, such as YouTube or Netflix, or support things like Instagram or Facebook. And so we have a long way to go in terms of the industry, technology adoption, as well as evolution to get to that point in time. And we want our users to be able to come with us on that journey. So upgradability and configurability are very important. The great thing about building Move and the blockchain at the same time was that we were able to design Move in a way to be upgraded, both from a programming perspective, as well as a smart contracts platform as well. And same thing for the blockchain itself, to be changed through the evolution of new technology advances. We believe that high throughput and low latency and efficient hardware utilization is really important. And with that in mind, we designed a new modular and pipeline approach to transaction processing. Most importantly is that we don't forget about the ideas of databases that have come before us. And so taking advantage of some of those techniques around something called block STM and optimistic concurrency control has been something that can support atomicity with arbitrarily complex transactions as well as parallel transaction processing. In the future, we're exploring many different opportunities for how we shard and scale to large numbers of transaction workloads, as well as maintaining low latencies. An intuitive and safer experience is one of the key blockers to widestream adoption today. We want to be able to support and solve some of the earliest problems in the space, which is primarily around how do you custody keys. The Aptos blockchain today supports different kinds of key rotation techniques as well as recovery. First of all, we decouple the public keys from addresses, and this allows us to support key rotation. We support crypto agility, which means we can get many different types of signature schemes to support different user requirements, from consumer experiences to enterprise experiences. And finally, smart contract recovery is an important part of the Aptos blockchain, where things like semi-custodial models can be considered. The idea that a user that loses access to their private key can also allow that key to be recovered through a smart contract after a certain time has passed by a custodian they trust, while maintaining control of that account while they continue to use the blockchain on a day-to-day basis or say a monthly basis, is a really interesting model that can be considered with something like Aptos. The other thing that we think is important for safer experiences is that today people can sign transactions quite blindly and be subject to phishing attacks and other types of social disasters. And so human real-world transactions where users can see exactly what's transpiring, as shown in this example, what the network fees are, what the actual changes on the chain are going to be, as well as the actual costs and what's going to be transferred, are really important for a safer experience. When you think also about the transactions that are signed, those transactions are typically viable indefinitely in many cases. With the signature and the live transaction out in the public, it can be executed at any different time. We add different kinds of limits to make sure those transactions are going to be protected for users with sequence numbers as well as expiration times. And finally, be able to prove that transactions have occurred on chain in a timely fashion through like-line proofs and fine-grained recency timestamps is an important part of that safe experience and also supports auditing. We're really excited about Move as a new way to think about programming in smart contracts platform. Move was designed from the ground up as a smart contracts language and not a general purpose one. It is deterministic, it has metered execution to prevent denial of service attacks, it has shared data usage between contracts, as well as supports autonomous accounts. One of the key concepts of Move that is, it provides additional safety is the idea about resource conservation. So if you have a concept like a coin, you can treat it as a coin as opposed to an integer. You don't multiply it, you don't add it, you don't just forget about it in a function call. The coin can't be subject to those kind of issues and bugs for programmers. And this is an evolving language. This is something that has been changing a lot over the last 5 years and can continue evolving for the different kinds of application use cases that we see now, and also use cases we want to see in the future. So we can support things like higher level inline functions for collections, resource groups, and a way for a programmer to optimize the way the storage of logical concepts is put into physical manifestation, as well as move objects, which is an easier way of composing different types of elements together and providing relationships between them. Upgradability is a key concept for the Aptos blockchain. Upgrading frequently is something that is very important to make sure that users are taken through the journey, not just for today and tomorrow, but well into the future. It could be new use cases, it could be new technology that need to be changed to support either faster throughput, lower latency, or even support against forward-thinking cryptography attacks. And so one of the key concepts is that the Aptos blockchain stores a lot of its chain estate on chain. And that means that when clients sync up to date, they automatically get notification of those changes, whether it's going to be a new consensus protocol, a new proof generation format, or a new signature scheme. Governance tooling around this is really important to facilitate these changes in a decentralized environment. And upgradability has been not something that's been thought of as a nice to have, but something that we've tested well over the years. In the DM mainnet, we upgraded these processes in the framework multiple times, consensus upgrades as well, and with no downtime and to users at all. We've also been upgrading the network very frequently since launch. 1.2 was released in February, 1.3 released in March, and we have a plan for 1.4 released in the April-May timeframe. One of our secrets to high throughput and low latency is really about our core design of the infrastructure itself and taking advantage of what we call pipelining and modularity. We have 5 different unique stages of transaction processing. The first stage is continuous transaction dissemination. And the idea is that validators are continuously gathering transactions from the external world and sending blocks of transactions to other validators and producing a proof of availability. The next phase is that as validators are receiving these blocks in parallel, they start to order them via a consensus protocol. Now, the important point here is that the consensus protocol does not need to even have the block data. It just needs to understand the metadata of the block. It does not also execution of the transactions. And this means that the ordering itself is incredibly fast. The next phase of the operations is around parallel execution. Validators execute these transactions in parallel through the optimistic concurrency control and block STM. And this is a technique which supports both the kind of complex transactions you like to have as a programmer, as well as the high throughput that's necessary for large user adoption of workloads. The next phase after that is taking advantage of batch operations. Writing one byte at a time to a storage device is incredibly slow and inefficient due to system call overheads, as well as not taking advantage, as well as the high seek times. Batching these operations together is much better in terms of the throughput for the system, and that's something that we take advantage of. And finally, the last phase is around state proof certification, which means we generate the proofs that are necessary and the data structures for light clients to be supporting quick and easy update checks of validity of the data being processed, as well as the state changes that have been propagated to chain. Block STM stands for software transactional memory, and it takes advantage of optimistic concurrency control from databases, a technique used widely for decades now. The idea is that rather than having programmers have to specify the dependencies of the transactions up front and limiting the flexibility in what the transactions can do because they have to specify those dependencies up front, programmers have the freedom to be able to construct transactions and changes in data however they want to. And the runtime will then examine these transactions at execution time and determine what can be parallelized and what cannot be. It's an optimistic approach. It can also be augmented with more data from users if they want to specify those dependencies, but it can also be standalone. And this technique has been shown to be extremely scalable as per our benchmarks in the past. It uses a multi-version data structure in order to support the actual implementation of it. And what we've seen in practice is, again, the more cores you have, the better performance you're going to see, and in a linear fashion. The Aptos ecosystem has been moving very quickly. On launch day in October, more than 30 projects came live all at once, and that was really exciting to see from an ecosystem perspective. Today, 5+ months later, there are more than 100 projects live, with hundreds more waiting in the wings. Thousands of NFTs have been created by thousands of collectors, and the Aptos core protocol has received contributions from more than 500 developers. Mainnet's seen millions of addresses created, and perhaps most importantly, the mainnet finality times have been sub-second, not just according to us, but also according to the recent Masari report, which showed Aptos having the lowest finality times in production. We're also really excited about the interesting number of institutions and applications built on top of the protocol, from gaming to custody to infrastructure to social media companies. We've seen a lot of folks being really excited about the technology that comes to the table with Aptos and about what they can build in this space. Our main focus in 2022 was launching the network. We began this process in March by launching our developer network and understanding how people felt about development in the Aptos blockchain. We were excited to see hundreds of developers starting to ask questions in our Discord channel about how to build AMMs, how to build NFT marketplaces, as well as wallet infrastructure. We also saw thousands of full nodes being connected to our network in just the weeks that followed. In May, we launched our first incentivized testnet. It was about bootstrapping the network with tens of different validator operators. In July, we were able to launch our staking process and program for those validators and test out the functionality there. In August, we tested out governance upgrades. And finally, in October, we were able to launch the mainnet. And that's when we were excited to see 30+ applications come live within the first day. 2023 has been really about how do we also develop both the ecosystem and infrastructure at the same time, and do so and deliver upon our promise of upgradability being a key differentiator for Aptos. And we've been able to hold those promises so far. In February, we launched our first 1.2 upgrade, in March 1.3, and we are excited to see 1.4 coming live in April and May. On the move side, we've seen some really cool things, such as higher Lambda primitives and operations. We've seen new upgrades to the framework, new crypto primitives and that support zero knowledge proof verification on chain amongst a variety of different schemes, as well as different kinds of hashing functions, as well as signature schemes being live in the network as well. We're also really excited about the Quorum Store, which is kind of our first iteration of the disseminated data distribution for transactions that will increase throughput significantly. Developer tooling is also improved. We have a plugin for IntelliJ and also one coming for VS Code in the near future. And on the starting point, we expect to be developing interesting prototypes that will test alongside our community going forward. We'd love you to get involved with the Aptos community. The first and easiest way is really through the Aptos Improvement Proposals website. Join the GitHub discussion, propose different ideas, whether with respect to protocol changes, infrastructure changes, or ideas you have with respect to different types of application needs. We've seen a variety of different proposals from the community, and we're super excited about the progress we've made in this space with over 20 AIPs currently in progress. We also keep track of ecosystem projects at this particular GitHub link. Feel free to add yourself as a project to that list. You'll see hundreds of others there alongside you. Our team is very active on Twitter, Medium, as well as Discord, and here's some links for checking that out as well. With that, thank you very much for listening to my presentation, and we hope you have a great time in Hong Kong.
Thank you, Mr. Avery Ching, for the online keynote. So a gentle reminder for all of you today, the morning session provides simultaneous interpretation. You can use WeChat, Twitter, browser, etc. to scan the QR code of simultaneous interpretation on the signage at the entrance of each venue, or the conference brochure, and listen to simultaneous interpretation through your mobile phone. 那各位嘉宾呢？开幕仪式呢提供同声传译服务，你们可以扫描会看手册，或者是各会场的门口的二维码，可以通过手机收听。 So, ladies and gentlemen, to keep things interactive, we now have the first roundtable forum of today with the interesting topic on Web3 infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite Ms. Curve Chang, Ecological Partner of Particle Network, to be the moderator of the roundtable forum. Also, I would like to invite our speakers on stage. Ren Yi, co-founder and CEO of Orderly Network. Andrew Lee, Blockchain Investment Technology Director of Osvic Capital. Veronica Wong, CEO and co-founder of SafePal. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm welcome to all our speakers on stage. Our speakers today will share their insights and ideas on the topic Web3 infrastructure. Let's give them a round of applause. So now I'll pass the floor to our roundtable moderator. Over to you, Curve.
Okay, thank you. Hi everyone, welcome to this panel. I'm Curve and I'm the ecosystem manager over at Particle Network. So maybe just as an intro into what Particle Network does, before I move over to the panelists, we basically provide comprehensive solutions for application development. So we provide SDKs for all the different things such as Web3 authentication, wallet as a service, NFT solutions, node service, and many other things as well. For today, the panel topic would be overcoming challenges as infrastructure providers. So very happy to pass the time over to the panelists to give a brief introduction of themselves.
Hi, I'm Ran from Orderly Network. Great to be here. Orderly is a decentralized order book infrastructure. So just think decentralized Binance, the liquidity layer, where dApps can be built on top to provide trading functions and trading utility for their users.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew Lee from Oswick Capital. First of all, thank you, HashKey and my boss, Mr. Chen, for giving me the opportunity to sit here. It's a great honor to join the panel. And Oswick Capital is a crypto SA started investing in crypto since 2014. Our boss, Mr. Chen, is a real crypto OG. He invested in crypto from 2014. And we actually have already invested in several famous blockchain projects. For example, Definity, Certix, Circle, Animoca Brand, Perdista Blockchain, etc. And we are strategic investors are trying to bring values to the project, and we grow with the project. And if you are interested to know more, please feel free to reach us at this venture. Thank you.
Hi everyone, this is Veronica, CEO and co-founder of SafePal, a cryptocurrency non-custodial wallet that's now serving more than 10 million users global-wide. So we offer safe and easy to use wallet solutions for people to choose from, including hardware wallets, mobile wallets, and browser extension. So far we support 56 blockchains and still adding more. And we allow users to secure, manage, swap, trade, and grow their crypto assets in a few clicks within the SafePal app. So we do have a booth at B10 right behind us. So feel free to drop by if you are ever interested in using a safe and secure and easy to use crypto wallet. Thank you.
Okay, we'd like to ask the panelists. So from the perspective of a decentralized trading infrastructure, crypto wallet suite, as well as a VC, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges when it comes to onboarding the next billion users to Web3 seamlessly and securely? And maybe as well, how are your projects solving this? Maybe Ran, you can start first, and then we can go down the line.
Okay. I think there are a lot of issues, especially with onboarding, which I believe SafePal is resolving. For us, we're liquidity infrastructure. So that solves the pain points of giving really cheap access, liquidity to users, DeFi users for any asset, any sort of asset, and having an easy plugin for liquidity for any DApp that wants trading liquidity for their users. So just imagine, again, like a decentralized Binance where assets can be listed in a permissionless manner, perhaps even derivatives. I mean, there will be geofencing depending on where the users are, but they have easy access. The builders also have easy access to any asset in the world. It starts with crypto, right? But as real-world assets becomes a thing and gets tokenized, that will eventually be added as well. So just imagine a pool of assets for anything. And these assets can be used as collateral. Users can trade these assets through their favorite applications, whether it's a swap, whether it's a order book, whether it's an app like a social app like StepN. Everything is interoperable on DeFi. So we want to become the multi-chain liquidity layer, and that's the problem that we're solving.
I think there are several hurdles or problems in different layers. Because as I always say, I see the problems from the overview. And for example, in the access control layer, we really need a user-friendly access control layer of projects. For example, wallets, smart contract wallet, account abstraction, such kind of thing, to onboard new users easily. We also need more efficient smart contract execution layer. For example, higher TPS, low latencies, and also more important is the lower gas fees, so that users could be able to use it more efficiently. And we may also need some decentralized storage layer or data layer. For example, decentralized storage or decentralized database or decentralized indexing for the project and for the users so that the Web3 can support more dynamic Web3 applications. For example, social, game, and creator economy related applications. Those applications are very typical Web3 applications besides DeFi. And I think if there is a Web3, and those applications should get massive adoption. And besides this, I also think that we should try to solve the contradictions between the compliance or the regulations with the user privacy, which is the core value of the Web3. I guess the zero-knowledge proof technologies is very promising to reconcile both of this. I guess that's what I could think of about the hurdles. Yeah.
Very good point.
Thank you.
Veronica?
Yeah. I will answer from two perspectives. Firstly, from a wallet builder perspective. So we are seeing a lot of onboarding hurdles for users starting from fiat on-ramp. So how do I even buy my first Bitcoin using my credit card and debit card? The second question will become, how the hell am I going to get the gas fee token? And what is a so-called gas fee token so that I can make my first transactions? So these are the critical onboarding issues that we are seeing throughout the whole journey of the user life of using their crypto. So we feel that removing the hurdles of private key C storage would be the critical and also the trending topics that we are going to see for this year and next year. This is also something that we are particularly very interested in. And we are also hands-on and solving those problems. The second perspective would be from a Web3 builder perspective. We need more users. So we need more users. We need more interesting applications built on top of blockchains. We now are seeing cryptocurrency as the major application, so-called application on blockchain. But what about the other ones? Like, what about the games? What about metaverse, right? What about some kind of very engaging applications that can really bring the Web2 users into the world? You mean like when there is a very interesting application built on top of blockchain, then people are going to conquer whatever hurdles, whatever difficulties there are. They're going to find ways. They're going to do OTC, right, to buy their crypto, whatever. So I think it's really the application level of innovation that is driving the mass adoption of user growth. So if there's any application builders here, congratulations, you are in a very early stage, and we need you guys. So I think from a Web3 builder perspective, we need to see more interesting applications built on top of blockchains that can really attract the next wave of internet users into Web3, so we can see the flourish and prospective future of Web3. So so these are the two angles that I have.
Thank you. Yeah, very good points by all the panelists. Another question we have is like in the past few years, we've seen how relying on just one single blockchain or just one single infrastructure, it provides a lot of like risks as well as vulnerabilities to the Web3 projects that are built upon them. So you can see all the various hacks throughout the past months and years, or even like secure like kind of hacks or like blockchain crashes and everything. So as coming from a Web3 project point of view, what do you think are some of the biggest risks and vulnerabilities that they need to look out for when choosing an infrastructure provider? Yeah.
Yeah, so from our perspective as infrastructure, we're not the gateway, but so the chain is really important, right? So we're de facto multi-chain. And our other project, Woo, it has a DEX that's multi-chain on 6 different EVM chains, going to 8. Orderly will also be multi-chain. It's starting off with Near. So the chain is very important, right? And it, there's going to be chains that kind of die off, and then new ones that come up. So then the applications will be multi-chain applications, and we're kind of like a middle layer between the applications and the chains where we sit. It's kind of similar to layer 0, and I believe a lot of the applications in the future will be multi-chain, and the cross-chain transactions and messages will be very seamless, and the users don't know that they're dealing with many different chains. I think that's kind of the development. So then when we pick the chains that we choose to be on, that's very important for us. Obviously, there's different risks with each different chain. So I think that's kind of the largest risk for us. And then everything upgrades, and the chains will evolve. There's new ones popping up in different languages, like the Mova language chains. Aside from Solidity, there's the Rust language chains. So everything is different. So navigating this and building a cohesive application on top is kind of where we're at currently.
And maybe to touch on that as well, for a project that's choosing maybe their first chain to build on, do you have any tips or what are some of the considerations that they might want to think of?
Yeah, for a builder, I think the obvious things to look for are, well, I can speak for DeFi, is like TVL, volumes. These are signs of activity, right? And track record for the chain. So, for example, now Arbitrum is a very hot chain, so that's a layer 2 on Ethereum. And I think ecosystem support is very important for builders, right? Any sort of marketing, grants, investments for the projects. That's extremely important to get started. I mean, at Orderly, we actually give grants and investments to the builders who build on top as well, in the form of our tokens or in just monetary ways. I mean, we raised $20 million back in 2021 for us. So for builders, it's the support, it's obviously the tech behind the chain, and also the amount of activity indicated by the metrics on top. Yeah.
Thank you. Andrew, maybe coming from a risk perspective, what are some of the biggest risks and vulnerabilities that Web3 projects might want to look out for?
You mean the risk, right?
Yeah, maybe just your experience.
From the VC point of view, as a crypto native guys, I think many of the risks of the Web3 comes from due to the centralization of certain layers or certain applications or certain projects. For example, centralized exchange last year, FTS, something like all of them about centralized exchange. And centralized RPC, for example, many of the RPCs are controlled by maybe 1 or 2 companies, for example, Inferior. If those centralized companies just broke down, then many of the wallets cannot perform well. This is one centralized risk. Another centralized risk may be, for example, centralized data storage. If the centralized database, and besides this, I also think the second one is that anything related to the private key is very, very important and should be take very cautious steps to protect the user and the project. For example, last year some wallets the implementation about the cryptography is not good, and they link the private key of the user. Then basically, all the asset of the user just got stolen. So for projects, they should take very, very cautious implementation skills about the private keys to use the battle-tested crypto libraries. Do not implement by yourself to write some very low-level crypto primitives. And for the users, I think do not approve your transactions blindly on some cautious applications or websites because you don't know someday while you are sleeping and you didn't remove your authorization and your asset just got stolen or rug pull, something like this. So, and sometimes you may also need to check or remove your approve of the wallets on some of the projects if you don't use the project frequently. That's my take and my advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica.
Since we built SafePal 5 years ago, I was asked by the same question twice. That still impressed me till today. That is, Veronica, what is the one thing that keeps you up at night? So my answer is, firstly, the first thing would be we got hacked. That's one thing that keeps me up at night. Second would be our infrastructure partners got hacked. So this is a very interesting question because now we are seeing a single point of failure gradually evolving into a systematic risks. It's not because something that you did badly, it's because your partners did, or it's because somebody or some teams you work with kind of have a giant leak hole that kind of drag you in together. We are kind of very cautious of that. So as SafePal built cross-chain experience, so we have been partnering with a lot of projects and teams and layer ones and layer twos in the way. So we have been very cautious of the partners that we work with, especially when talking about bringing the user experience into the wallet. Like for example, building cross-chain swap, we do need liquidity providers. Building bridge, building trading experiences, we do need to work with a lot of different partners. So we become very cautious about not rushing into something very new. And we are always speculative and suspicious of some new technologies that are still in the infancy and still growing. So we tend to hold back a little bit because in Web3, user demands are moving very fast. Like every day we receive users asking for very new, trending, that kind of fancy features, like support this chain, support that chain, and then add this one and that one. So we tend to be more rational of picking what we are really building into the products and what are the partners that we work with. So I think that is something that has to be bear in mind by a lot of projects. And do bear in mind that everything could be hacked. So you don't really know when someday you're actually walking on a path that have a lot of moving blocks. So I think that is kind of a very dangerous status of a lot of projects and builders, etc. So it is indeed an adventure, but also a lot of risks involved. So I think it's more of a mentality and mindset that we need to bear in mind that you can't trust blindly upon everyone. Let the time speak for itself. Let the product speak for itself. Let it grow for a little bit first, and then we can come back later if the time is right. So I think that is more of a mindset to remind everyone, don't rush into anything so fast and so quickly. Even for a retail investor perspective, that is also the same, right? So yeah, I think it's more of a mindset that we have to bear in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very good points. I think, these panelists have many years of experience and just reminds us that, in a space where there's so many innovations, so many fast things going on, it's quite important to, just go back to the basics. What are some of the important considerations you want to remember when you're building a Web3 project? So on that note, maybe I'll just deep dive into each of the project and let some of the founders share a bit more about, what their projects are doing. So the first question is for Ran Yi. So as we all know, there are many on-chain order book DEXs in the space, and they have failed due to many reasons such as exploits, hacks, high costs, and everything. So wanted to understand a bit more about how Orderly Network is solving issues around security, cost, as well as high speed, especially in the DeFi projects.
Yeah, so, our background is that we were traders. We created one company called Kronos Research that's high-frequency trading, and then Wu Network. Wu Network has a centralized and decentralized exchange. And the path has been more and more DeFi, more and more decentralized for us. So hence, Wu incubated Orderly Network along with Near, which is fully decentralized order book infrastructure. And I'm heading that up. And the idea is that DeFi is very early, right? We have a lot of frictions with onboarding infrastructure. The costs are high. The chains are not, it doesn't have high performance, and it's getting better. But we imagine a world where later on the DeFi applications have the same experience as CeFi, if not better, with Web3 tokenomics, Web3 incentives. So instead of traditional Web2 applications where the founding team and the investors make all the money post-listing, and we as users are only users of the product, the Web3 applications will incentivize everything, right? So then the early adopters and the builders can actually contribute and profit and generate high returns from their contributions. And that's the true nature of Web3. And this whole process is on the blockchain in a very transparent way. And that's what we want to do at Orderly for the world of trading. So again, just imagine decentralized Binance. So you as a user, if you're a trader, you want to deposit and withdraw from your favorite chain, right? A native token. You don't want to deposit wrapped Matic from Avalanche or even ETH, right? You want to do it from Polygon, and withdraw, it's the same, right? You want a seamless application where you can actually do that. So just again, imagine some of the centralized exchanges today. You want to have a seamless trading experience, low friction. You don't want too many clicks when you're signing. You want very easy onboarding from your favorite wallet, a fiat on-ramp, or just a trading app, or just a social application, because it'll all be integrated in the Web3 world. And you want to be incentivized for what you're doing, right? Whether you're a builder or you're a trader or you're just a general user, you want to gain for being an early participant. You want to be able to contribute and to take hold in governance. So this is the kind of world that we're imagining, and it's going to be multi-chain, right? And that's kind of what we're building and what we're solving for. And the whole experience will improve with better onboarding, account abstractions via on-ramps, and better performance for the layer 2s, the layer 3s, and what's coming. So we imagine this for CeFi, for crypto, and later on for all of finance, right? As that whole process moves on chain. There will be permissions, there will be compliance, KYC, but I think it's all going to happen. It's already happening, where all the banks and the securities brokers come in, especially with real world assets. Our latest investor is Nomura Securities with their Laser Digital, as we work on the institutional DeFi side with them. So we're trying to build the most transparent liquidity infrastructure, for the world, for Web3, and all the stakeholders are incentivized for that. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're trying to do.
Thank you. So maybe Andrew, just want to pick your brains as a VC. So what are some of the key considerations that as Oswick VC might have when it comes to evaluating Web3 projects? And second question as well, I wanted to ask for any projects fundraising during this period of time, what are some of the things that they should look out for, and any tips for that?
So you mean
so any like fundraising tips for Web3 projects?
Okay, you mean the fundraising advice for the new project? Okay. Yeah. As I always say, I think at this current climate, for the new project, I guess if the new project didn't achieve or aims to do some very big things with very with very strong technologies, aim to solve really hard problems, if the project it's not this, then the valuation should be too high actually. I think for new project, it's better to have some demo or have some development milestones achieved, so that it can show some proof or justify their valuations. Yeah, then it's better to persuade the VCs to invest. Yeah, that's basically 2 points of my.
Thank you. Last question goes to Veronica. So I understand that SafePal has been one of the pioneers in the wallet space, and you've been building over the past many years, and it's today used by more than 10 million users. So I wanted to understand, what are some of the lessons you have learned over the past years, and what you would advise Web3 builders building in this current climate.
Oh, so many. I can write a book about it. So, when we first built the first hardware wallet that we have in 2018-19, we feel super confident. Like, we feel super happy, and we feel very content about, we built something really cool that is giving people a cold storage offline device that protects our seed phrase, whatever, against attacks and all that, whatever. And then soon after that, users are yelling and shouting that, we need more chains, and also we need a mobile wallet, and also we need browser extension, we need more options, right? So we kind of gradually build all of those along the way. And that is one major lesson that we learned is that if you are serving a Web3 audience global-wide, it means that there are different user demands, and there's no single solution that is going to fit for all. You always have to get prepared to build something more useful. You have to drive through more interoperabilities. You have to consider cross-chain operabilities as well. So all of these are under your scope of consideration, apart from just building a product. So that is one thing. The second lesson that I've learned biggest is that it's always easier to teach people and show them how to use a product instead of telling them, showing them the article and blog posts telling them, well, this is how you do it 1, 3 step. So we have, in the past several years, we have been creating contents. Like, we're creating so many contents, blogs, infographics, and pictures, and whatever, like tutorials, YouTube videos, to teach people exactly how to use a non-custodial wallet like SafePal safely, easily in 3 steps or in 3 minutes. But later on, it came to us that it's more important to build the learning process in the products. Like, when people use your products, they inherently learn about what is a concept. For example, when they initiate the first blockchain transaction, we're going to have pop-up telling them, folks, you are now setting up the gas fee, and be mindful, don't set it too low, or else your transaction will be jammed on the blockchain. So we kind of gradually embed these kind of elements into the product UX, so that it makes more sense to the users, because they are engaging with the products and they are interacting with the UX, and they kind of adopt and pick up the knowledge necessary for their day-to-day usage while using the product on a daily basis. So I think this is the second lesson that we have learned. So we started to have a lot of these kind of elements built into the product this year. And the last thing, I think it's quite important, that is always value partnerships, especially meaningful partnerships. We have been supporting so many blockchains, like 56 and still adding more. We have established very friendly and fruitful partnership with Layer 1, Layer 2, and GameFi, NFT, DeFi builders all together. So SafePal is always openly embracing every possibilities and every potential partnerships. And so we have been supporting our partners to build user acquisition, to build like cross-promotion, social engagement, and product usage. So I think in this way, we kind of mutually benefit each other in the fruitful relationships. And together, we are building Web3 in a more wider and powerful way. So I think this is the biggest lesson that I have learned as a wallet builder, as a crypto investor, and also as a daily user. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, all very interesting perspectives from the different projects and VCs. So maybe just to end off this panel, I wanted to kind of pick your brains about, what are some of the projects or narratives that you guys are looking for in the coming years. Projects and narratives.
Yeah. So orderly, we're infrastructure layer. We're looking for anyone who wants to build their own DEX, whether it's a swap, it's an order book, perps. We're looking for just like social applications, like SEPN, StepCoin. Anyone with liquidity needs. We have grants. We can invest potentially. We're backed by some of the best in this field, including Sequoia, Pantera, Dragonfly, Jump. These are all some of our investors, and Nomura. So we're looking for all types of builders and partners that can help us, and we help each other grow the entire ecosystem. So if you're a builder, trader, KOL, feel free to come and talk to me, or just ping me on Twitter. Yeah, happy to chat. We have a booth over here, so if you stop by the booth as well, happy to chat there. Thank you.
Oswald Capital recently have actually established a fund with a top 5 VC from US, of which the name is called HKCEC. We are very glad to partner with them, and HKCEC is very famous and has already invested in many famous blockchain or DeFi projects such as the MakerDAO, Compound, DYDX 1inch, and the layer 1 including Near, Falcon, Avalanche, etc. And we are strategic investors that will bring value to our portfolio companies. And if you are interested in our company and want to know more, just reach out to us. We are happy to talk. Thank you.
This year, we are driving the wallet experience to the next level by working on seedless wallets. So if you are ever interested in AA, MPC, feel free to reach out. We can talk about tech. This year, we are also kind of going deep into cross-chain interoperabilities for swap, for trade, for bridge, and for staking, all of that. So if you are a cross-chain builder, also reach out. And also, we are kind of building a lot of content and localization strategies in localized markets such as like Hong Kong, like Korea, Brazil, Latam, like North America, all different places. So if you are interested in bringing crypto education toward the masses, you are creating interesting content, you are creating interesting videos that really make sense to non-tech people like my mom or my sis, also reach out. And we have a booth at B10, so feel free to drop by and say hi. We are quite open to all kinds of possibilities lying ahead. Thank you.
Thank you for all your questions. And so if you have any questions, please do reach out to these panelists. There are booths all over this fest as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for an insightful discussion. Thank you to our panelists and our moderator. Thank you very much. So moving on, may I invite Amos, founder of MetaWeb.vz and early contributor of Near, and Ilya, co-founder of Near, who's going to join us online. They're going to share with us a keynote speech. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Amos and Ilya. A big round of applause, please. So now I'll pass the floor to you, Amos.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Amos. I'm the founding partner of MetaWeb Ventures. We're a global crypto fund backed by Sequoia, Dragonfly, JSR, and CZ, and more. And before that, I was one of the earlier contributors of Near. I started as the first product manager joining Near, actually. And later on, I expanded my role to cover Near's global marketing efforts, as well as Near's Asia expansion. So it's my great pleasure today to give a quick introduction about Near before Ilya's presentation on Near's newest release, which is the blockchain operating system. So Near, in a nutshell, is layer 1 public chain. So it has really good performance through nice sharding technology, which allows computation to be done in parallel to be really able to scale from mainstream adoption from a scalability perspective. At the same time, NEAR is also quite different from a lot of the traditional layer 1 in the sense that it can actually supports multi-chain framework. So developer, of course, can choose to build in either Rust or JavaScript in the NEAR's native environment. But at the same time, they can also code Solidity or take their existing, EVM code from Ethereum, Polygon, Arbitrum, and deploy on NEAR's Aurora's EVM. On the other hand, if you want to build an app chain, you can also use Octopus Network's either Substrate framework or IBC. So this is quite similar to Polkadot and Cosmos. And last but not least, NEAR also has Rainbow Bridge, which is one of the most secure and trusted decentralized bridge on the network. Last but not least, NEAR also really has been praised for its usability, ease of use, and the own angle is really about onboarding the massive Web2 audience who are not familiar with crypto yet, but to the NEAR blockchain. So a bit more about the founding team. So NEAR has one of the strongest technical team since day one. So Ilya, he was actually at Google Research, very well regarded AI and machine learning expert. So at Google, he actually published a paper called "Attention is All You Need," which is actually credit for all the GPT models, like ChatGPT, GPT-4. So pretty cool. He was also a major contributor to TensorFlow. On the other hand, Alex started his career at Microsoft. Later on, he joined MapSQL as the first engineer. So MapSQL is actually one of the world's largest distributed sharded database, being used by Goldman Sachs, Uber, Samsung, and more. At the same time, Alex also won the gold medal for ACM SCPC. So it has the most competitive computer programming competition in the world. NEAR also has backing from some of the strongest investors around the world, such as Pantera, Tiger Global, ACNZ, Dragonfly, Hash, Coinbase, Baidu Ventures, MetaWeb as well. In terms of adoption, as you can see, NEAR has progressed quite a bit in terms of both the user number as well as the developer numbers. So without further ado, let's actually dive into the actual presentation today by Ilya about NEAR's blockchain operating system.
Hello, and welcome to the Hong Kong Web3 Festival. I would like today to introduce the blockchain operating system. For those who don't know who I am, I'm a NEAR co-founder, Ilya. And before the blockchain journey, I was in Google Research. I was working across some various deep learning problems. And I was a major contributor to TensorFlow, which is a Google AI framework that's used for a lot of deep learning research. And I was a co-author on a seminal paper called Attention is All You Need, which is the technology powering all of the recent AI advances like GPT model and image models, providing kind of the base structuring framework. And since I left Google Research, we started an AI company first. And through a journey of our own, we realized that we need a blockchain for a number of reasons to do machine learning, to do AI. One of them was to do crowdsourcing and really to kind of create data labeling platform that would be global and would attract people around the world. And to facilitate payments, to facilitate the game theory of that, blockchain is an extremely useful tool. We started looking into that and realized that blockchain technology back then in 2018 was still pretty early and it was not yet ready for being used. And that's when we decided to focus on building out NEAR protocol. Now, since then, kind of our vision is continued to expand, and the idea of open web has been kind of something we always talk about. And the idea is really to empower the user to own their identities, their assets, their data, and their decisions, right? And this kind of spans across, what we usually think of Web 2, and also now with AI, really extremely important. As right now, your data is being used for training machine learning models. The decisions are being made on your behalf by the companies that build these models. And so really kind of turning this tide around is extremely important. And like even before and getting more important now. Now, what we want to introduce today is a blockchain operating system. We recently released it in an alpha version, and kind of the core idea is we want a common layer for browsing and discovering over open web experiences, which is compatible with any blockchain. For people who are familiar with WeChat and with Alipay, this is the idea of having this super app platform that is open and decentralized. You have a universal account that you can use with any wallet, and you have all these mini apps experiences, including social and payments, all in one place. And it works across any blockchain. It can leverage pretty much any app across Web3. So what does blockchain operating system enable? Well, it's a single point of entry for the user. Right now, as a user, you don't need to think about all of this, which blockchain to choose, which wallet to pick, like all of those things. You can use kind of any wallet, and it will leverage any blockchain. And you have kind of one-time onboarding, and you start building up reputation across the whole open web, across all of these apps. It really gives you easier discoverability and really opportunity to earn, to build community, to really interact and find applications you want to engage with. Now, all in all, it kind of gives you this integrated experience, right? WeChat is kind of a platform that based on communication, but it has all of this kind of mini app environment, which really allow you to navigate and find things that you want to do in one place instead of trying to go and like find what are the things that are available on the internet. And right now, Web3 is in that state, right? We have all these apps somewhere, and you don't even know how to discover new ones. You need to sit in Discord and hopefully find when somebody like texts us new one. And you don't have like common properties like search and notifications that, would span across all of these apps. Like you have a huge silo effect as well between blockchains. And so that's what blockchain operating system is trying to address, is really pulling it all in one place, giving you a whole host of kind of these common tools so that you can like subscribe to notifications or find new apps in the feed. And finally, for developers, it's really just an easier environment to build because you don't need to set up hosting, set up scaffolding for your application. You can take existing applications and fork them and kind of modify it and build something new on top. You can obviously use any backend, including Web2, and you have payments, identity kind of coming in already embedded. So blockchain operating system really is this like substrate that, similarly to regular operating system, abstracts out the blockchain complexities and at the same time gives users kind of a single place where they can find all the applications. So, to compare with iOS, you come in, you have the apps you use, you have notifications that span all the applications, you have search so that you can find new apps. And for developers, they don't need to think about the hardware that runs underneath. They just build applications and kind of surface it to the users. So diving in a little bit on how is this built, right? How's it structured? Well, so there's a number of layers in this system, in the blockchain operating system. So let's start with the blockchain first, right? So at the bottom, we have different blockchains. Obviously, NEAR and EVMs been started with, but you can add any other blockchain. The applications themselves, the smart contracts that live on them, you can also add Web2 backends, right? You can use any, including like ChatGPT API or some like Twitter API embedded into this. Now, the layer on top of this is so-called data platform. So data platform is what allows to really abstract out a lot of the complexity of the blockchain. It provides access to the data, kind of re-indexing it into the formats that applications can easily surface. It provides the notifications and search backends, various kind of other, MPC recovery and meta transactions, kind of all the functionality that you really need to provide to the user and developer without needing to go down to the blockchain level. And the idea is really to create that as a protocol such that kind of different people can run the indexers and streamers and search, and users can choose which one they want to use. Now, the new layer we introduced is called discovery. And this is kind of one of the innovations here. This is a layer of composable decentralized frontends. This is the first time that the frontends themselves become components and kind of become kind of similar to smart contracts in the way that they live on a blockchain. They are unstoppable, uncensorable, and they get composed at a time when users requesting to see. So imagine you go to a swap, and the swap interface itself, the code for it is stored on blockchain. And when you go there, it gets pulled from blockchain and renders for you as a user. And you can easily imagine then that you want to combine, for example, a social feed and a swap in one place. And so it pulls both of these components and renders it for the user. what it allows to do is really easy kind of for anyone to build on top of it, because you can like, oh, I like this NFT component, I want to use it in my profile, and this profile is used in a feed, and this feed is used in social swap. And so you kind of don't need to rebuild a lot of the same parts of the application that you usually do. And at the same time, you can rely that it will exist there because it's stored on blockchain, it's versioned, it kind of gives you all of the properties that we have with smart contracts. And so this really allows to have a faster developer environment than what you usually have even in Web 2. And finally, it's gateways. Gateways is really the way to access the blockchain operating system because it is an open ecosystem. Anybody can actually run this access point, right? It's a place where users actually go and they start interacting with applications that are living in this operating system. This is launching on near.org, but also it can be a Brave browser itself. It can be some portfolio application like Zapper, Zerion, etc. And it can be wallets like Sweat Wallet that kind of integrate this experience directly into it. And so they really allow you, like as a gateway, you can pick and choose which parts of the stack you want to use, right? Similar to how you may not use all the features of the operating system, but this allows you to kind of turn your application, right, your browser, your wallet into a super app really quickly without needing to build all the mini apps and all the ecosystem because it's shared across all of those gateways. So the way to think about it is it's a three-sided marketplace, right? It's a gateways marketplace where gateways are focused on onboarding users and giving them this kind of rich super app experience. They can, really easy become super apps, like if you already have existing user base. It's an experiences, which, it's apps and kind of part of apps with components, which for developers and kind of super fans to really combine and build and really experiment. And we'll see more and more of this happening kind of with less and less coding because there's already ways to like combine components, for example, without needing to code. And obviously with advancements in text to code, using GPT models, you actually can, just describe the front end you want and it will generate it for you. And finally, for users, it's one place, like even if it's a different gateway, it's still their assets and their data across all of those gateways. And so they can come in and start using it and having all of these applications, the tasks they can do, the games they can play, commerce they can kind of engage with, social interactions they can have. So it's really like kind of one single environment that doesn't matter where you come into it is yours and you can interact with it on your own rules. So who should run a gateway? Well, there are two options. One is you're an existing application and you have kind of already a user base. And for example, if you're a portfolio tool, you may want to add more functionality or you actually like having trouble keeping up with changes of all of the functionalities that happen in the blockchain, or you're kind of, already a single purpose app that wants to expand it. And so it's really easy for you to kind of plug in this whole system. It's like, a few lines of code and you can get access to kind of all of this experiences and apps that exist in blockchain operating system inside your experience and kind of, designed and prettified the way you want it. And also if you're a new app that wants to focus on specific aspect, right? It can be ecosystem specific aspect. It can be an app specific, like a social network. And so this allows you to really kind of zoom in and like optimize the experience for that. And so you still use all of the stack. People can find all the apps, but you're now really focusing on one of the aspects of the user kind of user experiences. Now, to kind of showcase what can you build, right? So this is just some examples of existing apps already on blockchain operating system. So this is a social feed, the game, a multiplayer game, an NFT kind of marketplace, and also the borrowing lending application. Like all of this is already possible and it's already built inside the system. So why would you build an app, right? Well, you get a censorship-resistant, decentralized front end, right? So you don't need to do anything. You launch a front end, and you don't need to get hosting set up. You don't need to pay for it. You don't need to kind of worry about it. Just launch it, and it's accessible to all the users through any of the gateways. You have way less operational overhead. All of this identity payments, everything is handled for you, and you have kind of really, really easy accounting system that you can build. The kind of important piece, you can start building businesses on this, right? It's not just to build more infrastructure. You can build, on top of all of the existing components, you can build things like tasks and gigs business, right? Delivery or ability for somebody to do like digital work online. And you can facilitate that through this whole system. So what are the components, right? I keep talking about it. Well, components is everything from the smallest piece, right, that, for example, renders an NFT to a full-blown app. So here's a couple things. One is like the component that shows the profile, my profile, and you can really see like it's, it's an icon, it's a name, it's an account name. And it can be like a full-blown app that, you can see as you're navigating which components you're looking at. And so again, like this gives the ability to really build quickly because you can like compose them and you can always navigate and see what people use to build their stuff and then like pick and choose from those pieces. So one of the important pieces, and like we know that because the social is probably one of the most important ways to engage people and like for us to interact with each other, is a social graph. So social graph comes in, it's on blockchain, it's censorship resistant, it's owned by user. And there's a set of components to render it, to kind of interact with it. It's everything from posting to following to reposting, liking, all of the pieces that you usually think of social. And you can customize it for different use cases. You can actually take that social feed and filter it down to a specific, application of yours through like set of hashtags. And so that allows really like kind of a multi-sided interaction where as more people build on top of the social feed, there's more functionalities and more people interacting with it and more people want to build on it. And so as we see already, like the social graph is growing pretty quickly. A lot of people are posting now on it, even like a few weeks in from the alpha launch. So an example of composing things is taking a swap like Uniswap and a social feed and really putting them together. So Uniswap is coming from Ethereum and the feed is coming from Near. And so putting them all together into one application really showcases how you can really start composing experiences in ways that usually you don't think about in kind of regular blockchain applications. And so blockchain operating system itself is using to route kind of the which transactions need to go where, like how to link the identities and everything under the hood. And you just build this, very easy experience. And you, as a user, you're just like, hey, I want to swap ETH to USDC, leave a comment, boom, it shows up in the feed and you can see who else is posting. And this also shows up in kind of main feed and you can like filter down to it. And so all of this is kind of like really easy, can be built within like minutes, ideally like first version. And you can start like, testing it out with the market, see if there's like, people are interested in using this. Another example is building, games. So this is like a very simple Flappy Bird style game. You can take, for example, an NFT that you own from Ethereum and use it in a game that the leaderboard of which is on Near. And so you can have like kind of this interlinkage, and this leaderboard then goes into Game Hub where, you can see like who are the most active players in the ecosystem overall. Like this all kind of creates like a interconnectivity between all those pieces. So just to finish up, so this is kind of the overall concept, right? There's been a lot of development and there are a few core pieces that we are going to be introducing in the next 2 weeks. One of the main ones is to simplify onboarding. We're launching fast auth. So right now, blockchain is still really hard to onboard new users. There's still requirement to like fund it with money, and you still need to like really figure out what is all the seed phrases are all about. So we're launching a using kind of one-time easy onboarding. It uses Face ID, fingerprint, or PIN code on your phone. So it uses your phone cryptography. And it sets up your account on that phone, and you have an email recoveries to MPC. And this is all in a very smooth flow that you can just, look at your phone, enter the email, boom, you have an account, and you have kind of a recovery through the email. And so now you can interact with applications. So this is a like huge unlock because now we can get users in and we can start getting them interacting with applications where they can start earning or start participating, playing games. The other part is it allows to start interacting without needing to fund your account is meta transactions. So this is where you can like application can pay for the user's interactions without them needing to have any Near on their account or any Ethereum or any other apps. So this is launching on Near, but we through remote accounts, we're going to be supporting that for other blockchains that are in the boss. And so this really, again, simplifies onboarding and allows for people to start leveraging these applications. And you can monetize it by, for example, getting subscription fee from these users and saying like, hey, you just pay like $5 a month and you get like, 10,000 transactions for that month, and like probably people will not use that app. The other part is the kind of, I mentioned the data platform abstraction. So important part there is actually bringing the logic of like how the data can be accessed by front ends to the smart contracts themselves. Because right now there's a disconnect between how data is stored on the blockchain and how it's used by applications. And so we kind of designing a protocol called Query API, which you can think of, some of what the graph is doing, but really bringing it to the smart contract, allowing anyone to run an indexer on top with kind of zero switching costs for the developers and users to which service provider they use. I mentioned search, extremely important to really aid the discovery of applications, of other people, of posts, of content, of games, launching kind of really rich search. Similarly, notifications, push notifications, email, Telegram, really enabling to kind of re-engage for applications with their users. And really important part is moderation. Although the underlying protocol is censorship resistant, like users do want to be in a safe and kind of constructive environment. And so there's a way to start moderating for individual users. And then we'll be rolling out community moderation feature where you can choose, depending on gateway you're using, which moderation, which community you can kind of follow, and they can decide to maybe hide some of the content from the user. Again, everything on the blockchain itself is censorship resistant, but we know that like to foster a constructive community, you need to hide some of the content. And so this is the set of tools to do that and really kind of promote constructive and safe environment. And so these are pieces actually will be important further for governance in AI, as we will see similar ideas happening as this AI models become open source and leveraged, and you need a way to really moderate and govern those. So just to leave you with the idea, so NEAR is not just a blockchain. It's a data platform, it's Web3 identity, it's all of the developer tools, multi-chain interoperability with Rainbow and other tools we have. It's a social graph now, it's fast onboarding with fast auth, composable front ends, and blockchain protocol. And so what we're calling all of these pieces together is blockchain operating system. I want to thank you all for coming and listening, and check it out at alpha.near.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Ila and Amos, for your inspirational speech. Thank you. So coming up next, may I invite Mr. Juan Bennett, founder of Protocol Labs, to share with us an online keynote speech. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause to Mr. Juan Bennett.
Hello, everyone. My name is Juan. I'm here to talk to you about Filecoin scaling and the FDM. I wish I could be there with you today. Unfortunately, I can't, but I'll be there in Hong Kong starting tomorrow. All right, let's get started. Web3 brings trust to internet interactions, and we want to make all of our transactions online verifiable through using cryptography and cryptoeconomic rules. But in order to empower all of our applications, Web3 needs to be able to scale to handle the level of transactions that most applications do. And today, that's just simply not the case. Blockchains have way too small to be able to handle the kinds of operations that most applications online do. So we're tackling that in Filecoin by creating a massive scale storage network that can truly scale to the needs of these kinds of applications, and by building a compute network on top. And that's where FDM is really critical. So the Filecoin master plan is divided into 3 parts. Step 1 is to build the world's largest decentralized storage network. Step 2 is to onboard and safeguard humanity's data on that network. And step 3 is to bring computation to the data to enable those massive scale applications. Now, step 1, we've already accomplished. We have already the world's largest decentralized storage network. There's about 3,800 storage providers around the world in 44 countries, providing about 13 exabytes of capacity, which is truly an astonishing scale of a network. This is already rivaling massive scale centralized storage networks. The network is a professional. It has hardware and service providers that are operating a storage facilities similar to the ones that you have in centralized cloud providers. So this is not just kind of like random small computers and so on. It's really a professional network to be able to handle professional scale applications. It's also becoming one of the greenest storage networks on the planet because we're through the Falcon Green program, we're able to connect the energy use of the Falcon network to renewable energy through renewable energy markets, which is an amazing application of blockchain systems as well. Now, step two, this is where we're focusing a lot of our efforts today, is to onboard and safeguard humanity's data. I'm going to be focusing on step three, the computation layer in this talk, but I'll touch on this a little bit just so you get a sense of how the network is growing. So last time I spoke at the Wanxiang event was in September, I think, 20th or so last year. And since then, the network has grown an enormous amount in terms of data onboarding. We now have about 765 petabytes of data. That's 4x since in the last 6 months or so. And the data onboarding per day is at a 4 to 5 petabytes scale. So we're talking about a 3x increase since then, and it continues to grow. So and we'd love to check in with this graph the next time in the next conversation to just see how big the network is. And so this is astonishingly big compared to anything else in the crypto ecosystem. We're talking about many orders of magnitude larger than all other decentralized storage networks, and applications that are way larger than everything else. About 1,400 clients, so 1,400 clients are uploading all of this data to Filecoin. About 23% of them upload more than 100 terabytes. So these are pretty serious operations, large applications with lots of data. In addition to, of course, like handling thousands of small applications. Now the data is being onboarded into Filecoin through a set of use case specific on-ramps that help onboard data that are targeted towards specific applications. And of course, the Filecoin Plus cryptoeconomic mechanism, which enables a much better cost structure than the centralized cloud. So Filecoin Plus is a really critical component of making Filecoin be competitive relative to the centralized cloud. So there's tons of users using Filecoin through onboarding on-ramps like Web3.storage, which is one single application targeted towards small applications. And since the last time that we checked in, which we had about 20,000 users, now we have 50,000 users. So it's more than doubled since the last time we talked, and we now have close to 100 million uploads in the network, which is through this on-ramp, which is huge. NFT.storage, which had about 57,000 users last time we talked, now has 128,000. So again, more than doubled. And we went from 89,000 uploads to now over 89 million application NFTs to now over 120 million. So this is really a huge growth rate for these on-ramps. There's all kinds of specific applications in different productivity, games, video, music, social networks, and so on that are starting to use the Filecoin network to be able to back up and serve all of the data in their applications. There's hundreds of large data sets stored in the network, and you can think of massive scale scientific projects, like major experiments in the world are now choosing to use Filecoin to back up their data. And also several cities are starting to use the Filecoin network to archive their data or make it usable, make it accessible to lots of researchers and consumers of data. So a lot of these users come to Filecoin because of the strong verifiability that we get thanks to the proofs of replication that Filecoin offers. The kind of tamper-proof log that shows that storage providers have been storing that data and where that data has been stored. And they also are looking forward to the computation capabilities that Filecoin can enable with FVM and more. The onboarding is also assisted by new kinds of economic structures that enable new ways of composing storage primitives. So this is a BD is a storage platform that uses an auction mechanism to be able to connect clients to the best possible deals from storage providers. And this is enabling like very interesting economic structures. So now the network is growing massively. There's an enormous amount of data. Now let's bring computation to that data. And that's what a lot of the network has been focused on. We just had a huge release about a month ago of the FVM. So what's FVM? FVM is a component that brings computation to the Filecoin network. So this adds smart contract capabilities. And on top of that, we're going to layer other things like compute over data networks, applications, and so on. The FEM project is now used by a ton of different applications and builders in the community to run their applications. So I'll go through those in a moment. And just diving into the technical details of FEM, so it is a runtime based on WebAssembly. So at the very core, FEM has a WebAssembly hypervisor. And it's built to support many different runtimes. So you can plug in the EVM. You can use other WASM runtimes from other blockchains that use WASM. You can use SES, which is a version of JavaScript. You can mount LVM, IR, and so on. So it's built as a multi-VM platform to enable interoperability across the entire blockchain space and to many other kinds of operations. So you can think of it as a blockchain that is meant to connect to lots of other networks. Now, FEM is launched with Ethereum compatibility as the first runtime. And so that means that you can run EVM smart contracts, and you have full Ethereum address support, Ethereum account support, and so on. So you can connect the FEVM runtime to any other EVM compatible runtime. The EVM runtime Filecoin has all the standard things that you might expect from other EVM runtimes. It is compatible with the other networks, and it also includes some specific Filecoin system calls that enable Filecoin specific functionality. So think of being able to issue smart contract calls to be able to store data in the network or to check proofs and so on. So you have all of the operations that are native to Filecoin accessible through FEM system calls. And the gas accounting is following sort of the Filecoin rules. So it's a slightly different gas model, but it follows EIP 1559 and so on. Now, FEM enables a ton of applications to be built on Filecoin that are just not possible in other blockchains, and certainly not possible in other storage networks. So think of bringing the possibilities of smart contracts with the ability to issue storage operations for large amounts of storage, and then being able to issue computation over that data. So think of being able to create applications that can check whether something has been stored, or issue contracts for certain kinds of data, and so on. Like I mentioned, there's a huge community of builders. There's also a set of programs that support early stage builders called the FEM Foundry. And there's been a ton of hackathons already that lots of, thousands of people have been playing around with FEM and building projects for. So look out for the next one. I think it's going to be announced relatively soon. So now I want to dive into some of the specific things that people are building with FEM. So kind of what becomes possible. So one thing that is desperately needed in the ecosystem is to be able to have much better storage provider marketplaces for being able to lease Filecoin, to be able to use it in terms of pledge collateral. And so there's already several projects doing this. One of them is Glyph. The Glyph staking pools enable that kind of connection between Filecoin token holders and storage providers to be able to connect the sort of the capital required to fund the storage provider operations. And so this is going to be a hugely important component of the Filecoin ecosystem. There's also all the other standard DeFi style operations that you would want, everything from AMMs to other various different kind of loan structures and pools and all of the kind of DeFi power that people have come to expect from many other smart contract chains. And so FEM is designed to enable porting all of those kinds of systems into Filecoin. The FEM also enables perpetual storage deals. So think of being able to now enable not just kind of fixed duration deals, which is the basic primitive that Filecoin offers, but now being able to have perpetual contracts of being able to store things in perpetuity based on smart contract rules. So all of the deals are automatically renewed, detecting failures of certain source providers and being able to replicate the data and move it to other places. So all of this is, people are already building on FVM. There's one specific version of this, which is the permanent NFT storage contracts. So NFT of storage, which is a service that that runs on Filecoin, is now doing this for all of the NFTs that it stores. Now, of course, you also can connect FVM to other networks like, say, Lit or Medusa or other access control networks, or being able to use zero-knowledge computation platforms like ZK Lambda that the Lurk Lab is making. So think of being able to use decentralized access controls and data privacy in the computations. Now, people are also building the retrieval market side of Filecoin. So think Filecoin Saturn is a CDN project with now over 1,300 points of presence, which is a huge number of POPs relative to many other CDNs in the world. And all the payouts for and retrieval rewards for Filecoin Saturn are now going to be flowing through FVM. And later on, the entire model for how to measure the CDN itself and how to evaluate the contribution from parties and so on will be done entirely through FVM, which will be a super cool application. We're also seeing data DAOs, which is a use case that I find super exciting. Communities are going to be able to collectively curate useful data and then govern and sell the data access to that data, and then have a shared treasury for the preservation of that data and the growth of that data. So think of communities of data, communities of individuals or organizations that really care about some specific data sets, being able to pool their resources and work together to both safeguard and monetize that data. We're already seeing many applications starting to build these data DAOs, and so look forward to see how they grow over time. One use case that I'm extremely excited about is the compute over data network. So this is bringing large-scale computation over Filecoin data. So think of being able to issue compute jobs similar to how you would do it in Amazon Lambda or EC2 or something like that, but over the Filecoin data. With the Bacalao project is spearheading this kind of compute over data network, and we're already seeing lots of applications starting already using Bacalao. They've had hundreds of thousands of jobs. I think getting close to a million jobs, and this is like super exciting to see this level of adoption on kind of like what's a very early project and early network. One of the example use cases that I find super exciting is using machine learning models like generative AI models directly through Bacalao and through FVM. So already there's applications where you can kind of send a prompt, get an image generated, and then be able to directly store that image on Filecoin and back it up long term, add it to perpetual storage, or like immediately mint an NFT and so on. So it's going to be the intersection of crypto and AI is going to be super, super interesting to watch. Now, I foresee that we're going to have many different compute networks that map to different parts of the kind of verifiability, privacy, and performance triangle. And so for each of these kind of spots in this triangle, we're going to see different compute networks form. And so we're tuning Filecoin to be a great layer one network to support all of these other networks as L2s on top of it. So many different compute networks are going to start between this year and the next couple of years. They're going to be homing in Filecoin. And through this, we can get to massive scale data science to be able to do large scale computation and data analysis and all of the types of work that people are used to in a normal centralized cloud with huge clusters of compute jobs. That's the kind of operation that we are bringing to Filecoin. And if we can do this right, we can then set up the right ground to be able to handle the computation required by the massive scale applications that run most of the internet traffic in the world today. So that's kind of like what we're targeting. So again, join the community of builders in the network. This is a super exciting time to be part of the network. It's very early days. Like it's only been 1 month, and already we have all of these builders deploying their applications and systems on the network. Like I mentioned before, there's a huge need for lots of DeFi primitives, and those are getting started. It's a kind of an interesting note that in most blockchain networks, some of the early groups that deploy to a network become, some of the long-term, very successful DeFi protocols. So this is a great time to get started and deploy basic DeFi primitives to the Pathway network. And we also make sure to check out all of the different programs that are out there for builders. There's, of course, hackathons and grants. There's thousands of hackers using those. There's accelerators. So there's accelerator programs around the Pathway community. Over 250 different startups in our community have raised over $200 million across 20 different accelerator programs connected to our network. And from there, there's, of course, PhilVC, which is a way to connect startups in our ecosystem to capital to be able to fundraise for later rounds. So this is a phenomenal network to be able to start new Web3 startups. And here's another way of visualizing the same kind of model where we're tuning for this pipeline to be able to support many builders around this ecosystem to be able to go from early experimentation with ideas to validate their products, to start their startups, get traction, and grow the business. So come join the community. There's a ton of different Pathway events around the world. Right now, we're having Phil Hong Kong right here through this week. So check out the schedule. You can go to the website and you can check the schedule there. There's lots of stuff going on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And there's D-Store HK, which is a specific event for Falcon storage providers. And if you're interested in that, definitely check it out. So again, the Falcon Master Plan is to build the world's largest decentralized storage network, then to onboard and safeguard humanity's data, and then to bring computation to the data to enable web-scale apps. We've launched the FEM in the last month. We've seen an enormous amount of growth just in the last 30 days. It's amazing to see the community adopting FEM, building applications, deploying them to the network, and growing. And look forward to a super awesome 2023 and 2024. All right, thanks so much, and see you around.
Thank you. Thank you, Juan, for an insightful speech. Thank you very much. So a gentle reminder for all our guests here today, simultaneous interpretation is provided during all sessions. You can use WeChat, Twitter, browser, etc. to scan the QR code of simultaneous interpretation on the signage at the entrance of each venue or the conference brochure, and listen to simultaneous interpretation through your mobile phone. You're also recommended to bring your headphones to the venue in advance. So now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time again for another roundtable forum. This time on cloud, chain, and the evolution of computing platforms. So, ladies and gentlemen, may I have the honor to invite our following guest on stage. May I invite Mr. Leo Liu, General Manager of Hong Kong, Macau region and Philippines, Alibaba Cloud Intelligence. Leo will be the moderator of the following panel discussion. We also have Mr. Tang Yi, Principal of Qiming Ventures, Mr. Da Hongfei, Founder of Neo, CEO of OnChain, Amos, Founder of Meta Web VC and early contributor of NIA. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a round of applause to the following speakers. Welcome. So moving on, I'll pass the floor to our moderator, Leo. Over to you, Leo.
好，大家上午好啊！这个我们已经有点这个延迟啊，但是今天我觉得也很兴奋。我觉得这个进入这个场以内啊，首先我觉得灯光照得很亮啊。第二个，后面这个颜色也很炫。第三个，我们做这个 Web3 的这个 情绪也很兴奋。第4点呢，能够跟我们这几位我们在这个早期在 Web3 领域内的先行者能够有这么一个话题的探讨，我觉得也很兴奋。那么首先我自我介绍一下我自己了，我是这个阿里云的 Leo， 我负责阿里云在港澳台及菲律宾大区的业务。好，那我想先简单的请我们这个我们的几个 panel 来简单自我介绍一下自己的公司，好吗？我们从我们最远边的同学开始，来，谢谢。
大家好，我叫 Amos，我是这个 MetaWeb VC 的创始人。MetaWeb 是一个全球的早期区块链基金，我们背后的投资人有红杉。有这个 Dragonfly、JSR、SNZ 等等，然后我们主要投的生态有 Near 有以太坊，在加入这个 MetaWeb 之前呢，我也是 Near 的非常早期的这个员工之一，当时是以第一个产品经理的身份加入了 Near，然后是之后 Near 的这个亚太区负责人，包括是后来的这个全球的这个市场负责人，好，谢谢，
大家好，我是达鸿飞，然后应该算是在国内比较早从事 crypto、从事 blockchain 这个行业的一个创业者吧。然后在14年的时候创立了中国的第一个公链，叫做 Neo。在创立了 Neo 之后，也多多少少的参与了 crypto 里面整个行业里面可以说各个角度的一些创业企业的一些孵化的工作。那最近的话。去年的话搬到了新加坡，然后这次来香港感受到了香港对 Web3 的热情，正在考虑将来是不是花更多的时间在香港。
欢迎欢迎，热烈欢迎。
大家好，我是唐毅，然后我在启明创投，然后我们是亚洲一家领先的 venture capital firm，我们从19年开始投Web3 的领域，然后大概投了10几家的企业和项目。那么在19年以前，我也是在 crypto 行业，我在Consensus， Consensus 是以太坊生态一个最大的 infra builder 之一，所以也就是见证了早期以太坊的成长，很高兴今天能来到会场跟大家探讨这个关于 infra 的话题。
好的，好，谢谢这个3位非常简短、这个清晰的介绍啊。我想我们探讨第一个话题，其实我刚才听了3位的介绍啊，我都有2个词大家都提到了啊。第一个是大家都是比较早期在做这个 Web3 的一个先行者，第二个呢，大家都谈到了可能是链或是基础设施。那所以说，我想要么从唐毅开始啊，就问一下，在整个 Web3 早期的这个基础设施的建设的过程中，经历过哪些周期啊？在这些周期的过程中，你们看到有什么样子一些这样那样的问题没有？啊，我们从唐毅开始。
好的，首先就是大家讲 infra 其实是一个蛮宽泛的话题啊。当我们讲这个 Web3 行业的 infra， 其实它涉及到很多东西。那么大家可能立刻能想到的就是，也是今天 panel 里面 topic 的一个话题，就是链，对吧？那么讲链，大家可能讲的是一个 Layer 1或者一个 Layer 2的一个概念。这个是大家能想到，首先想到 infra 的一个话题。但 infra 其实它的内容其实远超过这个 topic。那么在链以外，或者在 protocol 层面以外，那么也有很多这种基础设施。因为链的 protocol 它只是定义说这个 protocol 它的规范是什么，它的 specification 是怎么样。那么比如说从以太坊角度，那Ethereum 的这个 specification 需要有具体的实现，然后就有不同的团队做不同的这个链的这个 client， 对吧？然后会有这种各种基础设施服务，比如说像大家都知道的 Infura 或者很多做这个 RPC 服务的，它是帮助这个大家来使用这个链的一个基础服务之一。然后还有很多类似的服务，比如说帮大家去更好的去拿到链上的各种数据。然后包括 wallet， 就大家讨论的 wallet 也是 infra 的一个很重要的 topic， 它是面向用户的，但是它是用户需要使用的一个非常重要的基础设施。然后还有一个可能蛮重要的 topic 是这个安全，那么各种各样的安全服务、安全的产品，它也是infra 就是很重要的一环。然后还有一些其他我还没有 touch 到的一些 topic。 那么从行业的发展来看，其实 infra 我觉得一直发展的趋势也比较简单，就是变得更便宜、更稳定、更安全，并且不停地添加更新的用户需要的 features。那比如说在这个稳定、快、安全之外，那大家最近也会或者也会有很多讨论，就是说链上应该有隐私的功能，对吧？那么你的一些交易可能是需要隐私化的，如果用户有这个需求，那么也有新的项目在 build up 这种隐私的 capability。那从行业的周期来看，我觉得基本就是一个螺旋上升的感觉吧。可能在某一个特定的时期，infra building 的速度会超过一些应用的场景的发现的速度。那么这个在可能几年前。那个时候有很多这个 Layer 1 chains， 但其实包括像 DeFi 的这种 use case， 它的 traction 都还没有起来。那么那个时候大家就会有个问题，就是说我们要这么多链干什么？就是还没有任何有意义的应用在跑。然后后来可能 DeFi 或者 NFT 有 catch up， 然后现在可能又到一个新的节点，就是说infra 层面，比如说各种 Layer 2， 包括各种 ZK accelerated 的这种方案，这种 Layer 2的方案去build up 新的 infra， 但是应用层大家又在想 ，OK DeFi 和 NFT 之外有什么能够有很好 user traction 的这种应用？所以我感觉是一直螺旋上升的一个状态吧。当这种应用可能 catch up 起来，大家又发现 infra 不太够用或者有一些问题，所以我观察到的基本上是这么一个螺旋上升的状态。对。
好，谢谢。然后我们看一下这个鸿飞应该是一个技术的这个背景的这个大牛啊，看一下怎么样？
不敢当。那我说说我的自己的一个理解吧。首先说一个狭义的基础设施啊，如果我们把这个计算要分的话，可能我们会把它分为运算、存储跟网络这3个主要的因素。那在过去的这个 Web3 跟区块链的发展上面呢，网络跟存储实际上演化到今天，几乎都是用各种各样的云，相当于在云上面再定义一个自己软件所定义的一个网络。那么在运算这一块呢，更多的是像早期比特币是用 ASIC 的这个矿机来做SHA-256的这个运算，来保证网络的安全性。那么这样子的这个算力呢，逐渐就是也推动了很多芯片行业的这个发展。然后目前的话，可能已经能够在探索2纳米甚至是1纳米的这样的一个芯片了。那未来的话呢，我们看到一个在这个基础设施上面的一个很有前景的一个变化，就是 ZKP 的这个出现。那在我刚刚进入 crypto 行业的时候，那个是2010几年，那个时候我们觉得像 ZKP 的这些应用是一个遥不可及的一个梦。当时的 Zcash 你要算一个 proof 的话，大概要10几分钟的时间才有可能计算出来。而今天随着一些密码学的一些进展、一些优化、硬件的发展，那么我们发现生成 ZKP 已经变得很快，并且已经变得完全可行了。那么很可能在未来，我们大量的 Web2 上面的这些运算都会用 ZK 的方式来进行，变成一个可验证的计算，变成一个有隐私保护的计算。那么我想这个一定会推动 ZKP 的密码学的算法和硬件的这个优化的逐步的这个实现，提供更好的一个基础的一个硬件条件。那抛开这个硬件的抛开这个计算来看的话，我听说币安现在是全世界最大的单一的云的需求方，它可能是最大的，一年大概有10几亿美金要花在云的服务的采购上面。因为比它更大的像 Google、像苹果、像其他这些公司，微软都有自己的云了，而 Binance 是一个没有自己的云，但是需求特别大的一个需求方。那很可能我们未来整个 Web3 行业如果再继续发展的话，可能在 Web3 行业对于云的这个需求会成为最大的一个单一的一个行业。那刚才讲的是这个硬件层面的基础设施，另外我觉得软件层面的基础设施或者叫市场层面的基础设施也是非常重要的。像各种各样的这个交易平台，其实是为 token 的流动性提供了一个很好的有保障的一个交易的场所。那很高兴就是香港这边已经有2家持牌的交易所，能够为整个这个 crypto 的这个市场提供交易上的这个基础服务。 那我们也希望未来在香港能够有更多的合规的这个交易平台能够出现。
谢谢。好 ，Amos。
对，前面2位都已经讲的这个很具体了，那我再稍微补充一下。对，我觉得可能这个从一个不是那么技术的角度来讲，就是说，可能不管是区块链或者任何一项技术的发展，它可能都还会遵循一些之前的技术发展的这样的规律嘛。那你看 Web2 最早也是可能从这个互联网，也是从一些协议啊，包括硬件上的提升到后来出现了一些移动端的这样的比如说智能手机，包括现在一些智能的硬件还有各个上面的操作系统。那作为很多公链，其实更多做的是一个操作系统这样的事情。那也是大家在这个做的过程中呢发现了有很多需要满足的事情。比如我这个记得17年当时在做一个项目的时候，可能在以太坊上开发一个东西，可能几个月之后你很多东西要重新写，因为它一个升级，你之前写的一些代码可能就不是这么适用了嘛，对吧？但那时候是特别早期，但是你看现在世界上可能已经有，我觉得至少可能有几万个这样，甚至更多的 EVM 的这样的 app，对吧？然后包括像 Near 上也有1000多个这个应用，所以这个行业已经发展的，我觉得是非常的这个在往一个非常好的趋势，已经逐渐完善的这样的一个过程中。那具体讲一下，比如说 Near 这边现在的这个计划呢，也是希望做一个整个区块链的这个，就我觉得不同公链可能更想上一个底层的操作系统。那我们现在更希望做一个上层的一个操作系统。就 Near 最近推了这个叫 Blockchain Operating System， BOS， 他希望做的呢，就是像微信或者说像支付宝这样的一个超级 App 这样的一个界面。它是一个可以这个 composable 可组合的这样的前端，而且它不仅仅是只是在 Near 上面它已经支持了这个以太坊包括很多以太坊上的2层，像这个 Arbitrum 像 Polygon 就是我们最终希望做到的事情呢，就是说虽然 Web3 现在很大但是它跟整个 Web2 的这个用户群体来讲还是非常的小。我们是希望呢能把很多 Web2 的用户带进来带来很多的增量用户但是比如说你现在用以太坊的这个体验呢，你可能先要第一步在交易所上买币买完了之后呢你可能需要创建一个 MetaMask 的钱包你可要记入你的助记词这些你全部做完了之后呢，你可能还需要找到到底哪些 App 是我可以用的 ，App 之间到底可以做什么这个 App 是不是经过审计的，是不是安全，它不是一个这个骗子项目，对吧？所以这些门槛可能对一个真正 Web2 的这个用户来讲。门槛是很高的，但就像这个达叔说的嘛，这次整个这个大会这个热情这么高我们每天那个展台都有好多人过来问Near 是什么，这个区块链到底是有什么用处，对吧？那我们就是希望把这些东西做得特别简化，能让这个用户一来的时候呢看到可能类似一个小程序的这样的界面而且这些界面上呢很多的这些小的这些迷你的这个 App它们都是互相可以组合的，然后你可以有 Discovery一个发现的界面，你也可以有一些 Recommendation让用户自己的能就把这些App 组合起来。对所以说这是我们可能未来想要尝试的一个方向，也希望呢Web3 和 Web2 最终呢能是这个结合到一起。对。
好，谢谢 Amos 就是我刚刚记得这个鸿飞刚才有提到一点，我觉得印象很深刻，就是现在其实很多这个 Web3 的早期现在都是用的云的架构来进行做。那我们也看得到说，随着Web3 这几年突飞猛进的变化然后它对这个整个的这个基础设施的要求也会更加高。那你们从一个比如说从一个开发者或是从一个项目方的这个视角来说的话，对于未来这个怎么样可以透过让云的这个公司企业，比如说像阿里云这样，能够去提供更加适合这个 Web3 的这个行业内的一些基础设施的产品或是服务或是技术，能够更好的帮助这个Web3 的公司来进行发展。我可能请这个鸿飞来问一下。
我得唱个反调哈。
没问题。
首先，那个我们作为 Web3 或者作为这个 Crypto 行业的这个 Virtual Asset 行业的从业者来说，大家都有一个梦想，就是我们有一个这个价值的这个偏好，我们更喜欢 decentralized 的东西。那但是呢，如果是作为一个云的服务商来说， 更大的程度是要追求对这个市场的一定程度的市场份额的这个占有，所以可能是希望，比如 AWS 可能是份额最大的一个这个厂商。那么为什么要做 decentralized 呢？就是希望没有一个单点的一个故障。那同样的，对于云厂商也来说，你们在物理层面也希望没有单点的故障。所以可能作为 Web3 的从业者，我们应该不会去选择单一的一个云的服务商来作为我们整个软件定义网络的它下层的这个运营的这个基础设施。因为否则的话，如果说阿里云哪天把我们的服务关了，那我们可能就没有办法，这个网络就不存在了。那我们可能会选择，比如说有一些节点在阿里云上，有一些节点在 AWS， 有一些节点在其他的这个云上面，然后甚至有一些自己运行的节点，这样子就会更加的平衡，这个网络的这个活性、可用性就会更加的高。当然，在一定程度上，我们就会牺牲它的效率，但这个是我们在追求的一件事情。这是整个blockchain 行业去探索的，说我们用多中心的分布式的去中心化方式来进行协作，同时保持相对比较高的这个效率。对，这是我们在做的一件事情嘛。
对，就简单的小结一下，就是用多云来这个解决效率的一个问题啊，能够帮助你
它更
加 flexible， 分加这个去中心化的这个要求。看看 Amos 有没有什么见解？
对我觉得这个一个比较有意思的事情就是说，crypto 行业现在发展，不得不承认呢，就过去的这几年，可能在欧美地区的这个市场的份额可能会更大一点啊，因为各种各样的原因吧。那目前不管是很多公链，还是公链上的很多的 App，可能还是在用一些比较偏欧美系的这样的云服务的厂商。这除了达叔刚才说的一个中心化的问题之外呢，还有一个很大的问题就是说，可能作为亚洲地区的用户，在访问这些节点的时候，它的这个体验和速度就很慢。比如说我在这个 Near 上的这个AMM 的 DEX Ref 上做交易。我可能在美国地区，我可能完成几笔交易，可能也就10几秒的时间。但是因为可能钱包的节点也是美国的 AWS，App 的节点也是美国的这个什么 GCP，最后我可能几秒、10秒钟完成的事情变成了1、2分钟那这个体验肯定是不是特别好的嘛。所以最近呢，也看到像阿里云这样的公司开始这个布局这个区块链包括跟很多公链结合，提供一些就是内置的开发者这样的工具能让更多的不管是现有的开发者不管是现有的 Web2 还是 Web3 的开发者都加入起来那我是非常这个期待未来的这个前景因为我也是特别看好现在香港作为可能这个区块链一个非常重要的甚至说新的中心的这样的一个趋势。包括可能不管是这个中国这样的大中华地区，还有像越南呐、像韩国日本，其实都有非常大的这个区块链用户的这个群体那有更多的这个可能亚洲为主的云服务厂商开始提供服务了之后呢，我觉得会对整个这个行业的发展有一个很大的这样的帮助。
好，谢谢唐毅。
我觉得迅速补充一下，就我觉得就是云和 Web3 基础设施肯定不是一个互斥的东西。那如果去看以太坊现在的那个 validator，其实应该是majority 的一个 validator set 都是在这个各种各样的云上面，有这个美国的一些云有欧洲一些云etc， 包括亚洲的云 etc，所以其实某种意义上从云的角度看，可能。比如说以太坊上这些节点，它可能有点像，或者这些 professional 的节点的 services， 它们更像一个 pass 层的东西。对，所以其实是一个合作关系。当然就是刚才2位也提到的，就是说这种网络的多样性和它的开放性，也使得这个网络中的这个节点也会有那种自己有点像私有云或者是自建这个服务器的这种角色存在。然后甚至比如说会有一些做这种家用的，你自己 run 一个小的 server 或者是一台小的硬件去 run 这些节点，就是从这个protocol 角度，它肯定希望底层的这个 infrastructure 具有一定的多样性，然后不管是从云的层面还是从这个本身这个节点软件的层面，都具有多样性是最理想的。 对，所以我觉得长期是大家是一个非常合作、非常 collaborative 的一个状态。对，
好，
我再补充一句，
补充一下，
那个我其实特别期待一个技术的突破。就是我特别期待在零知识证明领域的一个技术突破是什么呢？是希望我在给比如 ChatGPT 给他一段文字问他一个问题的时候，我其实不是明文的去问他，而是我用一个加密后的密文去问这个 ChatGPT， 然后 GPT 的那个服务器呢，它收到的也是段密文，但是它用密文跟它用当时密文训练时候学习的那个获得的那个成果去进行搜索，去进行回答，最后给到我的时候也是一个密文，但是只有我，因为我在问的时候是有个 key 的，我可以用那个 key 来对那个结果进行解密。那在这个情况下，不但是像 HTTPS 一样端到端加密，就是中间的所有人都看不到，包括那个向我提供的服务者，不管他是谷歌还是微软，他也不知道我到底问了那个服务器什么样的一个内容。那这样子的话，我们个人的包括商业秘密的很多隐私就我们就更愿意去搜索。这个时候，其实我们就整个世界的这种信息的运算的这个体量，我觉得也会放大。
对，这个感觉就有点像原先的莫斯密码的这个沟通啊，在以前没有 Web3 的时候。好，那我们到下一个问题啊，其实跟这个问题有一点点相关，就是大家也看到我们今天这个场子特别热闹啊，如火如荼的4天的这个 Web3 的 Carnival， 我相信也是在政府的大力的扶持下面推出了很好的政策，吸引了我们很多我们无论是内地的也好，还是国外的朋友也好，都来香港来发展。那我相信说未来也会逐步的对 Web3 呢会有一定的监管。那如果是从基础设施这一块的话呢，相信说从安全也好，从合规也好，那我想请3位来看一下你们自己有什么见解跟这个想法呢？我可以从这个您开始，唐毅。
我觉得从基础设施层面的监管是非常有意思的一个话题，然后这块可能在欧美就是已经有很多早期的讨论，包括有一些实际的 case，有一块我觉得会很有意思的就是大家讨论这个MEV 相关的 topic， 然后 MEV 相关有很多这种监管的 discussion， 就说 OK 我们是不是应该at least partially 的去监管这个 MEV， 然后是不是应该有一个分类，就是说哪些是好的 MEV， 哪些是坏的 MEV， 然后我们是不是应该去监管一些坏的 MEV， 然后包括我看之前有一些 case 就是有人去manipulate 这个Oracle 的这个链上这个 data feed 的这个 price feed， 然后这种 manipulation 好像我记得美国监管也有就是有一些立案调查的 case， 那么这个其实也是跟 MEV 相关的，也就是说因为链上交互都是这种交易嘛，那你是不是通过一些从监管角度或 policy 角度认为不恰当的方式去获得一些竞争优势，或者去获得了一些利益，这块我相信以后会是一个非常热门的讨论的话题。然后另外一个就可能也是跟交易相关的，就之前其实欧美那边也有很多讨论，就是关于比如说是不是应该 sanction 特定的一些 transaction， 然后包括有一些节点或者 MEV 就是一些节点相关层面，它在提交交易的时候需要去做这个 OFAC compliance， 这块都是就是非常有趣的一个话题吧。然后最后一个可能就我记得这2天也看到新闻，就大家也在讨论，就是 DeFi 或者是 self custody wallet， 跟这种链上应用交互是不是应该有 KYC？ 如果是 KYC 的话，应该以一个什么样的技术上的更先进的方式、更 make sense 的方式去做这种 KYC 的东西？就这个方向，我觉得也会非常非常有意思。对。
好 ，pass 给 Amos。
那我快速的这个补充一下吧，就是说，我前1个多月才在这个 East Denver 参加了那个就算是一个全球比较大的开发者大会吧，一个很深的感触，因为那个大会总的来讲还是欧美地区开发者比较多嘛，大家也是对整个目前的监管的，尤其是可能是美国的监管环境是有很大的抱怨的。你也会发现很多的 crypto founder 现在也在找一些新的地方，比如欧洲这边像里斯本， 当然现在这个亚洲这边，不管是新加坡，尤其这次香港都是大家很关注的一个地方，因为香港其实已经有非常好的这样的一个基础设施，尤其是金融层面的。那同时在这过程中又另一件事情发生了，就是整个美国的银行的出现了这样的一个危机嘛。那导致呢，可能对整个这个加密行业最 friendly 的这几个银行全部都倒闭了，所以现在呢，很多这些crypto 的创业公司都希望可能找到一个比较好的这样的 jurisdiction 的这样的有一个比较明晰的监管环境下有一些好的 banking partner 能帮他们提供一些服务。那我觉得呢，如果香港往这个方向发展的话，其实能吸引到很多的这个欧美的这些顶级的这个区块链的，不管是 talent 还是一些这个公司一些项目，对，
好，我从另外一个角度谈这个问题吧，简单的说一下。我觉得首先要看为什么要监管，肯定是因为一小撮人，一小部分人能够通过误导别人的信息或者怎么样来使大量的这个投资者可能这个受损，才需要监管。那么我们是不是可以通过一些技术的手段，比如一些链上的这个 DeFi， 它实际上整个过程都是非常透明的。那如果说能够做到绝对的公正、透明、可预测的话，那很可能传统的这个商业模式下的这种监管是不合适的或者非必要的。那我也希望，我也就很期待通过一些技术的方案，能够探索出来一些不那么让监管不再变得那么必要的这种业务场景。那在这种场景里面，整个世界的摩擦，整个世界的运行的成本会变得更低。
好，谢谢啊。那我们今天因为时间也有限啊，我觉得我们很简单的讨论了3个话题，是吧？我们从技术上的过去展望未来，以及在这个合规监管下面，那我们相信说香港的 Web3 这波浪潮我觉得一定会持续很久。所以说，我想最后想请3位呢，用一句话或一个词来寄予我们这个香港的这个 Web3 的新赛道。我们从这个唐毅开始，比较简单的一个寄语。
这个能不能再定一下？就是
就是我们对于香港的 Web3 的这个新赛道，你希望你有什么自己的一些寄语没有
？OK， 我的可能比较 high level 吧，就我觉得香港也是就是一个非常国际化的都市，然后也是就是 kind of 在这个 intersection of the East and West 是一个非常一个 global 的 hub， 所以然后 Web3 本身也是一个非常全球化的事情，所以我觉得香港目前在的一个位置，它的 position， 它的 culture 其实非常适合来推动这个事情，所以我也蛮期待后续就是这个行业在香港的发展。对。
好，
一个词的话，我刚才脑子里面浮现的是 tipping point， 就我觉得前天特首给 Web3 协会的这个成立致辞，让全世界的人把Web3 方向的这个目光都注视到了香港。那我相信接下来这段时间，香港在 Web3 的这个领域会变得很热，那甚至可能会带动整个行业去到下一个这个向上走的一个周期。
好的。
对，我也是非常同意达叔的这个观点我们是非常期待这个香港能引领这个 Web3 带到下一个新的这样的顶点。那同时呢 ，Near 在整个这个亚太地区呢，也有非常大的这个开发者和用户群体我们也特别希望，就是说香港一直来也是一个这样的 Asia Hub 的这种概念我们能更好的跟这个香港这边的或者说整个亚太地区的这个开发者创业者做更多的这个结合和帮助那最后也是打一个小广告，那我们 Near 这次对这个咱们这次这个 HK 这个 Web3 Festival也非常的重视，是这个白银的赞助商我们在门口那边呢有一个展台，如果大家有任何问题想聊的随时欢迎同时呢，在明天早上9点半我们在这个会场这边也有一个这个分的这个会场是关于 Near 的一个这个话题的这个探讨，有很多 Near 生态的一些项目方还有投资人都会和大家一起交流谢谢。
好的，那就这个再次感谢3位嘉宾的时间我觉得今天讨论我们意犹未尽希望我们可以接下来在香港的整个大的 Web3 的市场上面，我们可以一起来共赢。好。 好，谢谢各位，谢谢大家。
谢谢，我们以热烈的掌声感谢4位的嘉宾的精彩分享，谢谢。So thank you, speakers, for the in-depth discussion. And for the last session before lunch break, may I invite on stage the following speakers for the roundtable forum on NFT, GameFi, and infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite Mr. Fred Sun, Head of Strategy Tencent Cloud International, Mr. Stanley Wu, Co-founder and CTO of Anchor, Mr. Chris Feng, Partner of Chainbase, and Mr. David Girl, Founder and Executive Chairman of Hive. The moderator of this roundtable forum is Fred. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the speakers on stage. Round of applause, please. So now I'll pass the floor to Fred. Over to you.
Wait. All right. Thanks for everyone for staying behind. I know all of you are hungry. I know we are. I'm going to try to make this session more interesting. And very glad to have Stanley, Chris, and David here. So quick introduction of myself. I'm Fred. I'm based in Hong Kong. I lead strategy and a Web3 ecosystem development for Tencent Cloud International. I'll probably pass it to Stanley, Chris, and David to introduce yourselves first, and maybe one sentence, what got you guys into Web3 infrastructure or the decentralized infrastructure space?
Okay, thank you very much, Fred. First of all, my name is Stanley. I am the CTO and co-founder of Anchor. So basically speaking, for anyone who is not familiar with Anchor, Anchor is a Web3 infrastructure provider. We provide a decentralized RPC service, liquid staking, gaming platform, as the discussion we will have today. And also we work on the layer 2 and also the customized solution for the blockchain as well. So the reason why we joined the infrastructure is basically we think the fundamental service can onboard the most customer or client to Web3. And if we choose a service or a specific field to enter, so we want to do as low as possible to embrace the most client and most community within this space. Basically, that's the reason. Thank you.
Hi, this is Chris from Chainbase, and I'm taking charge of operation and growth. Chainbase is the all-in-one data infra for Web3 to allow you to index, transform, and use all on-chain data at scale with our automation tools like API, like pipeline. By leveraging the enriched on-chain data and streaming computing technologies across one data infra, we automate indexing and encrypting of blockchain data and enable other developers to use this with less effort. And our goal is to make all the data on-chain be readable, usable, and unleashing the value behind it.
Hi everyone, my name is David. Friend, thanks for having me here. Hive is a distributed and decentralized compute and storage platform. It really focuses on providing a core infrastructure for all Web3 and even Web2 type applications to be run in a secure and distributed manner. Our objective is to take advantage of all this end-use capacity that we have in our pockets, in our homes, in our offices, that are actually use less than 5% of their idle power. So why not put all of these into a virtual machine and give a very scalable and secure infrastructure to the world?
Cool. I'll probably stay with David for a little bit. For those of you who don't know David, he's a serial entrepreneur, I would say, from the Web 1, 2, 3 era, right? What has kept you going, and why do you think decentralized storage is important?
You know, I've been always frustrated by the control of the very few for the use of the many. And you know, you mentioned my past, and I'm one of the inventors of real-time communications. You know, the protocols we use today on WhatsApp or WeChat to communicate with each other. And that was, at that time, against the establishment of telecom providers. And so I think today, the centralized cloud providers control way too much, and they are acting fundamentally for their own commercial interests and not for the interests of their users, and who really are putting their faith and their trust and their identity in the control of those entities, which I think is very risky given what we've seen across cyber attacks and all of those things over the recent years. And I think it's time to do it differently. And Web3 and distributed and decentralized infrastructure provides tools, technologies that obviously the companies that are part of this conference participate, and also Tencent does. And you guys have certainly embraced that future, and we want to be part of it and make it together.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And Chris, I know you just mentioned Chainbase is working on a bunch of cool products surrounding data infra. Can you explain a little bit more? Why do you think data infra is important in GameFi, in NFT, for metaverse development, and some of use cases maybe that you find?
Sure. As David just said, in our perspective, the Web3 is the paradigm shift for data. For database. It's a unified and open database. So most of our core team member developer background, so we understand developer deeply. For developers, the common demand for data is reliable, accurate, real-time, and easy-to-use data. That'd be perfect if it can be packaged as predefined API or other automation tool to help them to solve the backend hassle or reduce repetitive time. So we structure our product as 3-layer structure. The basic layer, the base layer obviously is RPC service to ensure the data we offer, the stability and accuracy of the data we offer. In the middle is the data interpretation layer. We call it data set store, where all the raw data on-chain can be decoded and organized as different data cluster. And easy to read, easy to use by other developers. And on the top is the user interface layer for us, where we develop all the tools like API, like pipeline, like bridge, to make developers to use it easily and interact with the chain more frequently. So our product is mainly for developers. And right now, the main customer for us is like the safety company, and a company who has analytical needs, and I think that's all for us.
Cool. And by the way, you can already find all these chain-based cool products on Tencent Cloud's marketplace. And back to Stanley. So we've been developing a cloud RPC product together, Tencent Cloud and Anchor. So Anchor is a strong incumbent in the RPC space already. Maybe you want to share with the audience your logic of collaborating with a cloud provider like us and build a cloud RPC service, and the importance, obviously, for GameFi development, for NFT, etc.
Okay, yes. So at this moment, I think it's a very crucial or critical stage for the Web3, because what we believe is within next maybe 6 months to 1 year, there will be more and more client and more company customers from Web2 to Web3. So in order to facilitate that process, a very easy to use, very close to the user product should be, had very, very good advantage to acquire customers. So for Anchor, we have the RPC service already, and which is elastic and global distributed. What we are thinking about, what is the next step to bring more customers? A very, very natural idea or concept is to trying to get closer, much, much closer to the client. So as of now, no matter what kind of the Web3 company, most of them is still in the cloud provider, like AWS. If it's out of China or out of Asia Pacific, it's AWS, it's Google GCP, it's Microsoft Azure. Within China, within Asia Pacific, it's Alibaba, it's Tencent, and then it's Huawei. So for us, we think about let's get to the last mile to the client and work with the cloud provider and bring the solution within the cloud provider and build a product just next to the client. and they can very easily to apply for a endpoint, very easy to apply for a RPC service, which is elastic and easy to scale up, and that can significantly lower the entrance barrier for the client and for the user, and let them to work with the Web3 very easily, just a couple of clicks, and plug into their code like Node.js, like Golang, and have the prototype run in a couple of days instead of a couple of weeks or a couple of months. I think this is the significance we want to bring to this community.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Thanks, Stanley. The importance of user experience has been proven super critical through the entire development of the internet, right? So David, how would you think about in the storage space the importance of user experience and your plan for Hive to achieve that?
First of all, I fully agree with you that the user experience makes the whole difference. Just look at Tesla and Apple and many other design-focused user experiences that have made a big difference in adoption. And that philosophy needs to be, in the DNA of the company, in the DNA of the team, and that's certainly what we are trying to do. If you think about storage, it's kind of boring. It's like you put a file or stuff files and folders, and you move from one place to another, and then you forget about that, somewhere in your hard drive. But I thought about this for a while, and the Web3 actually brings a dimension that is very unique. Because of its distributed nature, you can actually make storage more fun. And something we came up with is when we take your files and split them into small chunks and compress and encrypt and shard them, well, those shards are distributed across the world. What if you could visualize it? What if you could see, like in real time, where those little portions of your files are? And also imagine, since you are like a Pico data center, in that regard, what if you could show to the world what are you storing? So visualization and then the impact of the energy consumption are for me two interesting dimensions to bring to the experience of storage. And that basically suddenly ties the end user to the community because you are a provider. And you want to be a civil and good citizen of this community, and by seeing it, you say, oh, I can do more. I want to do more, and that's really the essence for me of the user experience.
Cool. Look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, I can add a couple of points. So basically, because Anchor main business is for like RPC or developed tools, so there are some times we have a requirement from the client that they want to have a node in, for example, Australia, or for example, in Brazil. So the decentralized storage solutions, maybe we can talk about that with the Tencent as well. It's very crucial for us or helping us to deliver the service to the client within a couple of hours. So right now we are working with one of the decentralized storage solutions. So the experiences look like if we get a request, and we can go to that countries and find a data center and run a node and download a snapshot with C gig BPS, and with a couple of hours the snapshot is ready, and the delivery windows can significantly shorten from days to hours with the help of the decentralized storage. We originally used S3 for that purpose, but you can think about if you download from specific S3 locations like North America, it's killing the experience to deliver the speed, to deliver the service, deliver the service within speed way. So I think this is very, very crucial for Anchor to be compatible with our competitor. So yeah, that's what I want to say.
I'm quite agree with Stanley. As we discussed previously, all the client need is service. It's not the feature, right? So why Chainbase design our product as an all-in-one data infra, which means we need to care about our clients end-to-end. Our base layer is similar with what Anchor do, is like the RPC service. Because the reason why we do the RPC is because we need to offer the stability and accuracy of the data. And on the top, we also have the Tencent to work with us to launch our product on your cloud, on your marketplace. So we all need to work together to offer the all-in-one solution for all the clients. This is what they want to pay for.
Yeah, yeah. And Anchor and Chainbase, you guys interact mostly with developers, with builders in the space, right? How would you describe the importance of builders' experience and how that ties to the end customer's experience? Take NFT, for example, right? Sometimes, well, back in the days of NFT frenzy, right? Whenever there's a big NFT issuance, how do you ensure, the end user experience is good?
Maybe you can first.
You go first.
Okay, so for the builder experience, for us is, I think it's a very domain-specific product building process. So because at the very beginning, everybody needs an RPC service. That's good. That's kind of easy, and that's what we are doing right now. But for the next stage, I think to have a very domain-specific solutions or service tied to that vertical, such as the gaming, such as the healthcare, such as government, or file system, or things like that, to gain the domain knowledge and work with them and deliver the service according to their needs is what Anchor is doing right now. So for us, we are currently working with for example, we are working with some banking system to help them to build the fund transfer or even the payment solutions, but also with very very small scales community. With that, we gain the experience, and based on that, we can build solutions, SDK, and also the API specific to their needs. And of course, we can expose some open source project, so such as the UI, such as the interface, such as the mobile app for that specific domain. I think this is for the infrastructure company. This is what the new business infrastructure should focus on. Once we have the basic service, fundamental service suitable for everybody, a domain-specific service should be followed up.
Yep.
Yes, as what Stanley said, I think all the stability and accuracy is based on node or RPC service. But on our side, client looking for us is for the data service. And on the top of it, our data service is, we need to decode or organize all the online data, make it be usable. Because the vital barrier for developer to use the on-chain data is the complexity. It's all coding, it's all in a smart contract. So the first of our job is to make it all be usable and readable. Then we offer all the automation tools to help them to plug in our service into your workflow.
Yep. I want to switch gear a little bit. We've been talking about infrastructure for a while, right? And if we look at the application level, metaverse, GameFi, that's a hot topic people have been interested in, and the theme of today's main stage, right? In particular, how do you think Web3 technology, or in general, decentralized technologies, can help the creation and sustainability of a metaverse or a Web3 game or a new generation of game? Maybe I can start with David to pick your brain first.
Yeah, this is a very interesting challenge because the world needs, we come up with more and more applications, more and more things to play with and to work with, and that triggers, more compute, more storage. And you look at, the number of available computers at any given time on the internet today, just take a snapshot, and it's roughly 2 billion at any given time, phones and desktops and servers included. That's the amount of computers that are connected on the internet. Only about 20 to 30 million of those are in the cloud. The rest is in our pockets, on our desktops, and around the world. So for me, what Web3 does, it unleashes the power of all these computing resources and giving it to the community, whether they are doing GameFi or distributed finance or cryptocurrency or storage or many other applications so that we can run those in a much more sustainable way. Because those computers don't need air conditioning. They are consuming much less power than in massive amount of data centers that we do. So it's I think also better for the environment. And I believe that with so much capacity that Web3 is going to enable, we're going to unleash a new area of creativity, and the imagination is going to be our only limit.
Yeah, the same concept of sharing economy for a greener and lower carbon world as well.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm sorry. On our experience, currently, the most of the data generated in gaming or metaverse is off-chain, it's offline. So the gaming asset on us, looking for the NFT transaction data and the gaming asset data, that's all. But as we all know, the fully on-chain game is the next $1 trillion segment, as I said. So if all this fully on-chain game penetrated, I believe the logic data and the governance data are going to be online, going to be on-chain. So which means the data generated in gaming will be the same magnitude as DeFi. At that time, more and more gaming clients going to be eager for data service. So this is what we're betting for.
Yes, and also I think we are talking about what the impact Web3 can bring into the gaming industry. But don't get me wrong, the game industry first need to focus on a game which is fun and which can attract the player to play. However, the Web3 definitely can bring a lot of paradigm shift and a lot of design patterns for the game design itself and also the players. So basically for the game itself, it brings the fairness and also the transparency. It brings the immutable data on the chain, which very, very hard to manipulate. Of course, there is a way, but it's much harder to manipulate than the traditional Web2 gaming companies. And also for the player, it brings the ownership, which means all the item you collect, all the weapon you buy, and also the hero you gain, it's all belong to you. It's all living in your wallet. And also very importantly, Web3 bring a new way for the player to monetize their own time and their own skills while playing the game. So think about today, for the Web2 players, if they want to monetize their playing experience or skills, what they will do, they probably go to YouTube or Twitch to broadcast to his own community. However, with Web3, with the new tokenomics, so they can use that opportunity to play the game and gain the assets, and also using the liquidity provided by the game studio to monetize the effort they put into the game. So I think this is a very important change and shift, and that's why the most game company, they are more or less interested in that to the Web3 technology at this moment.
Yeah, Stanley, you brought up a good point. A GameFi or Web3 game has to be a great game first, right? And as Chris was saying, the next $1 trillion opportunity may lie in the Web3 gaming space. So, but we haven't seen that killer app or killer game yet. Do you think it's a matter of time, or to make that happen, what do you think is the main gaps that we need to close? Is it on the I suppose it's probably multifold, right? There's challenges on the infrastructure side. There's challenges on the game IP side. I want to hear your views as well. When can we see Web3 games really take over on a massive scale, and what it takes?
Yeah, there's definitely some, still the point that we need to collaborate and work on together. Especially Tencent is very good at, to publish the new game. So I think for the publisher like Tencent, definitely can work on more user-friendly, more UX-friendly, Web3 UX-friendly games, and using your resource to provide, best practice, how to design a game more suitable for the Web3, and use your resource, for example, to increase the experience for the discovery of the game. Right now, there's a lot of game studios or marketplace or NFT marketplace to say there's a new game, there's an NFT, what's the price? But there's not much effort for this entity to bring the information, metadata related to this game to help the player like us to choose the best game or most interesting game to play at the very beginning. So I think this is definitely the effort Tencent can work on. However, there's also the difficulty for the game studio as well, because it requires them to acquire more skill set, a new skill set. For example, smart contract skills, and also, for example, the tokenomics skills, design skills, and also the NFT design skills. This is the skill new to the game studio. They need to acquire that as well. And the last but not least is for us, like the infrastructure provider, like the blockchain players. We need to design and deliver a very skilled blockchain solutions. Right now, if all the game hosts on Ethereum, it's not possible. It's just literally not enough TPS for them to do. So I think at this stage, for example, layer 2, for example, more and more game-related or game-specific wallet, or more and more, user-friendly, I don't know, marketplace or things like that, can definitely help the onboarding process, boarding experience for the user as well. Basically, I think this is the three areas we all need to focus on.
Layer 2, wallets, tools, marketplace.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me add one more point on data view. As we can see, all the data on chain right now is based on transaction. But all the gaming asset, I mean, the gaming data is behavior data, logic data, governance data. So if in the future, I mean, the near future, along with the penetration of on-chain game, which is one of the Web3 native narrative, I believe all the behavior data will be online. At that time, a developer can analytics or use all the data in different categories, which will empower the innovation on gaming side. Because right now the GameFi is more focused on fi, but not game. On our side, the reason is because of the data category.
Yeah, I usually prefer to call it Web3 game to leave more space for imagination to it. It doesn't have to be fi, right?
Yeah.
So time is actually running out a little bit. So on a closing remark, I'd like to invite probably each of you to share two things. One is the one trend or keyword you're looking forward in 2023 in the Web3 space. The other is what's the latest development in your own companies that you look forward to or you want the audience to know? One on the industry, one on your own company.
Shall I start?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. I was just thinking about the question you asked regarding, when are we going to have, the Web3 games coming? And I was thinking it took about 20 years for the first killer application, which was HTTP, HTML, hyperlinks on the internet to make the internet what internet is these days. So I think that what excites me is that the technologies and the companies who are represented here, whether on stage or on the booth, are building all the tools and removing, one by one all the obstacles that will eventually unleash the productivity of building something in the old world in a faster and a better way in the new world. I think that's really what we are in the face of experiencing over the coming 2 years. So that's really exciting to me because it's a sign of maturity, and that's good. And on our end, we are really looking into bringing real-time compute and secure compute into the infrastructure, which can be helping people to make money and lower the cost of building the internet of the tomorrow.
Fantastic.
Yeah, for the industry side, as I said before, if we bet Web3 could be the next generation of web or network, there must be all category of data, not only transaction data or financial data. So based on this, we believe and we wanted to push the industry forward, like all the data going to be on-chain. And on our own side, we've already decoded and organized 700 data sets on our website, and everyone can use it. And then we're very eager to work with Tencent to push all the data set and all our services to all the developers.
Thank you. Making more data on chain and making data sets available to developers.
Yeah.
Okay, for me, I think for industry, I highly bet on the layer 2 because I think it's the very, very important bridge between the Web 2 and the Web 3. So if we are talking about bringing the next 1 billion user or developer from Web 2 to Web 3, layer 2 can serve as very important bridge for that, and it should come in within next 6 months to 1 year. And for Anchor, I think since this is majorly hosted by Tencent, I think I would like to say I will be very happy to see the collaboration product with Tencent, like Tencent RPC powered by Anchor, can come out within next couple of months and bring that to all the community, invite everybody to use it within Tencent Cloud.
Thank you, Stanley. We work very hard to achieve that. So thank you all for listening in, and hope you have a great rest of the day and enjoy the rest of the festival. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. A big round of applause to all our speakers for an insightful discussion. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, this wraps up the morning session of Day 2 of the Hong Kong Web3 Festival 2023. Once again, we'd like to thank our distinguished guests for their wonderful keynote speeches and roundtable forums. And the following time, there will be themed sessions held simultaneously on the main stage and the other 4 stages. Different topics will be featured in each session. You can scan the QR code on the agenda on the brochure or on the sign at the entrance of each stage to view the detailed agenda of each session. In addition, on the sponsor logo page of the brochure, there is a stamp area under the logo of the organizer, title sponsor, and all co-organizers, platinum, gold, first, second, and third tier sponsors. So throughout the festival, you may collect stamps from all areas across the exhibition hall. You may also refer to the logos page for details. So with a complete collection of stamps in one area, you may then proceed to the information desk to redeem a corresponding gift. Each visitor may collect once a day, and every gift is limited to 500 pieces and will be given out on a first-come, first-served basis. Once again, thank you so much for your participation, and see you all again at 2 p.m. Thank you.